Here we are in episode 4 of Fast Travel Lounge. I am Patrick. I'm once again joined by Steve, Josh, and Seth. First question I have for the group, it's the end of November. How many times have we heard Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You?
0. Thank
Zero.
the Lord.
Yeah, actually 0 for me too. Not working in retail has its blessings.
Oh, I bet. Even just going to my local countdown, they've just started just stocking the Christmas mince pies, just like a giant pallet full of them in the middle of the fruit and vegetable section, and it's not even December. It blows my mind, the people that want to go out and start buying this shit already.
Actually, I just remembered I've heard it once, and it was because of a meme picture that was going around, so I don't really count that. It was just, it was the song going, hey, get prepared for this coming.
Just throws you straight back into the deep end.
Do we translate countdown for Australians to Woolies? And I guess for Americans to Walmart?
That would be this. Yeah. Yeah,
what are they
pretty
counting
much.
down to, but?
December.
Until Christmas.
Yeah.
Where all you want for Christmas is for the music to stop. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Let's do Around the Lounge. We'll start with Josh. What have you been up to this week, Josh?
I've done nothing but play Pokemon and sell my soul over to Game Freak, as well as Gunfire Reborn patch number 1, so the base release of the game.
Fantastic. What about you, Steve? How have you been faring this past week?
Yeah, good. I've also been playing Pokemon, and I'm still on the Halo Infinite train and been watching the live-action Cowboy Bebop.
Can't wait to discuss those. I have also been playing Pokemon, and I finally finished Road 96, so you hear a few of my thoughts on that. And Seth, lucky last, you haven't been playing Pokemon?
Yeah, no, I avoided it because I am a poor bitch for the next couple of weeks. But to make up for that, I've done a lot this week. I've finished Final Fantasy Tactics, I played the King of Fighters 15 beta, and I watched Shang Chi.
Well, amazingly, the last 3 episodes happen to be themed just because there's been a game that quite a few of us have played and wanted to discuss. So why don't we discuss your week first, and then we'll have the Pokemon Power Hour to follow.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off with the King of Fighters 15 beta because I think that's the least I have to say on anything. So are you guys familiar with how fighting game netcode works?
I've heard the words thrown around.
Okay, so that
For my best friend doesn't know how it works. Maybe explain it to him.
Okay, so there's 2 different main methods that go on. There's delay-based netcode, which delays your input to try and make the gameplay look smoother. Or there's rollback netcode, which kind of tries to predict what's going to be happening, and if there's a interruption between you and your opponent's connection, it'll roll back a couple of frames. Usually, if it's a small amount, like 3 frames, it's not noticeable at all. But if it's done badly, it's very noticeable. So King of Fighters is going to be using rollback, which is the preferred method for fighting game players. And boy, that didn't feel like it at all. It felt like it was on delay-based netcode because the entire time I was playing it, I felt like I was playing underwater.
Oh, like Steven's microphone last episode.
Yeah, like
Ooh.
Steven's microphone a few episodes back. It was horrid.
What do you mean? We were living under the sea. Have you guys seen that movie, The Little Mermaid? That's where I was.
So, yeah, King of Fighters beta. How did the gameplay feel, though?
So King of Fighters 15 is pretty difficult to me because it's not like Street Fighter. Like, they're similar games in how they're set up, in that a lot of the combos are like link-based and things like that. But the links are a lot harder in King of Fighters than they are in Street Fighter. It didn't feel like things were hitting as smoothly as I expected them to. It's more of just a learning curve on my end, though, of I need to learn how this game works and how its combos work. But the few things that I did, I hit the training mode for a little bit just to try and learn some stuff, and I already started hitting some touch of death combos, which are just doing 100% of the opponent's health bar in one combo, and those were pretty fun. The first touch of deaths I've ever hit, and I had to do it with the Queen Shermie, just crushing people with her huge 4K ass.
So you're using a queen in a King of Fighters game?
Oh yes. It's funny enough, there's a character in King of Fighters called King that is also a female.
So when you say that it felt like you were playing underwater, is this against, I'm assuming this is against other players, so presumably the other end of the connection was also playing underwater, or is there generally one side that fares better in these?
So with rollback, it's usually about the same. Sometimes if there's a big disconnect, they have the host feels better than the opponents, or rather, it won't feel better, but it'll roll back more for the opponent. So you could do a thing where it like you hit someone and it's quickly pops up with the KO screen, but then it'll roll back like 8 or 10 frames and say, "Oh no, never mind, it didn't do that. You're still in the middle of the match."
That sounds horrendous. Holy shit! How do you play that?
It's when rollback connections are very bad. That's when that happens. Usually it's way more manageable and it's only like 3 frames, so the rollback will be in the middle of a move that is already connecting anyway.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
okay.
And it's much more preferable to delay, where over a short distance delay just starts breaking on itself. But yeah, my impressions, pretty good game. I'm excited for when it comes out. But I really hope that netcode gets fixed up.
And
But-
when would the game be out?
It's sometime next year. I don't know the exact release dates, but it's early 2022. I'm pretty sure. So moving on from King of Fighters though, after 4 months, I think it was, I finally finished Final Fantasy Tactics, and I'm a little pissed off with that because literally the one thing I wanted to do the entire game got denied by me. I spent you can get the Final Fantasy 7 character Cloud in the game, but it's not until the very end of the game that you can get him. And I made a stupid decision where I got locked out of finishing a side quest, which meant I couldn't do the side quest to get him.
Typical
do you
Final
mean you
Fantasy
couldn't-
fashion.
Yeah, hang on. What do you mean you couldn't finish the side quest?
So you have to do all the side quests. So there's 3 side quests in the game, and you have to do the first 2 to finish the side quest for Cloud, even though the second side quest has nothing to do with him, as far as I can tell. The first one, you use some of the Zodiac stones from the game's story to activate a machine, and after activating that machine, a character will find an interdimensional transporting device, and you use a different Zodiac stone to use that, but you need that robot to get to the area of the map that has that Zodiac stone. So that's where that connection comes in for that side quest. You need to get the robots to get the stone to get Cloud transported to the Tactics world.
And you can't go back?
No, I did that part perfectly. It's the second side quest that I fucked up, which is you help this character named Beowulf find his partner, and his partner turns out to be a dragon that you save at the bottom of a mining shaft. And I thought the side quest ended there because there's nothing to imply that the story for that finished, is meant to keep going. I just assumed it was done. It turns out you have to take her to that island where the robot is needed to turn that dragon back human, and you have to turn her human so you can get Cloud, even though I already transported him to the world, and the rest of her story doesn't tie into Cloud's story at all.
Hold up. So you've already transported Cloud back to the Tactics world,
Yes,
so you don't have Cloud.
I cannot get Cloud because I didn't do that second side quest. So he's in the Tactics world, but the trigger for his the fights where I can get him will not activate.
But you can't
And
go
you
back
can't
and
just-
finish that?
And you can't just head back and turn her back into a human from Dragon or whatever
No,
the
because
order of operations is.
so what happened is I got rid of the dragon because I was locked into a situation where I was trying to get a character into my party, but all my reserve members were out on jobs, so my only options were to get rid of the named party members. And because I assumed the dragon's storyline was over, I got rid of the dragon because I wanted to keep the other characters for story reasons.
Ah, you fool.
Definitely seems like you made a horrible mistake getting rid of the dragon.
The dragon wasn't actually that good of a unit. It's supposed to be better once you turn her human, but I didn't know that you could turn her human until after the fact.
Oh well.
But
you're finished
yeah,
now.
so it was a big mistake on my end, but it's also very frustrating that this side quest that has nothing to do with Clouds locked me out of getting him when I literally saw the cutscene to bring him into the world.
That is kind of odd.
So is Final Fantasy Tactics actually a good game? I've heard so much about it. It's one of those always been in the back of the mind. Everyone's always talking about it.
I enjoy it, but I find it a little overrated, honestly. Like, it's a very good game, but I feel like a lot of the people that have sung its praises overhype it a little bit.
Does it
'Cause
need
I was
more
ex-
dragons?
No, not that specifically. Like, the way it was described, I was expecting it to be like this ultimate best strategy game ever that just blows everything out of the water. And while it does have systems in there, like the job system where you can switch your characters' jobs and mix and match gear and things like that to make very powerful and fun units, in terms of the tactics game setup itself, it felt very standard, like I'd find in a Fire Emblem that of a similar style. And there's a few hang-ups that I have in terms of presentation, like at the beginning of the maps, you just have a bunch of blocks where you can place your characters, but you don't see what the area looks like as you're placing them down, or where the enemy units are going to be,
So you're
which
sort of
I
putting
find
them in
kind
blind.
of annoying. Yeah, you're just putting them in blind and hoping for the best. And I've had points where I put them in, and then there's like a wall between my units, which is not visible from the blind placement.
I suppose that's part of the tactic of tactics, though, right? If you throw it in and then you get something wrong, you're not going to make that same mistake the next time, presumably. So it's
Most
part learning
tactics
experience,
games
I
that
guess.
I've seen at least let you see the layout of the map so you can make those sort of decisions.
Yeah,
of like,
most of
oh,
the ones
hey,
I've
I
played
could.
just give you a default position for that particular map. So
Yeah, no, with games like Fire Emblem, you see the map and you place the units around like your area that you can place them in. You'll have like maybe like a 5x5 or a 10x10 grid, or different sort of styles of grids, and you can place them anywhere inside that grid as long as it's a standable area.
So why don't you just stack them all on top of each other? Death
You,
ball it.
you can't stack with characters on top of each other, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like build a little unit.
Oh, right,
You know, just
yeah.
all adjacent.
I've done that
Phalanx,
before.
that's the word.
I've done that before, actually. There's actually a boss fight that requires you to that. Literally, your only choice is to do that, with like one space free. So you could like make a space at the front, the back, or in the middle.
promise
But,
we won't make a phalanx. Me and the boys after a couple of drinks. That meme is so good.
So to slightly spoil a 20-year-old game, 20-plus-year-old game, the character deleter in that game is the actual worst. At the very beginning of the game, his sister. So I understand where he's coming from, because he's got the outlook of the world fucks me, so I'm going to fuck the world back by using everyone. At the very beginning of the game, the protagonist's brother kills his sister, just out of necessity. Not really a necessity, but they viewed her life as meaningless because she was held hostage, and she's a farmer girl, so her life was nothing to the royal family. And the leader takes that as a moment of enlightenment for himself and thinks, well, if everyone's going to use me, I'm just going to use everyone back and get control of the world. So his entire character arc is betraying literally everyone he knows and killing people to become the king, to the point where he ends up killing the queen at the very end of the game, because she's like, you're just going to betray me too, like you betrayed everyone else, and she stabs him.
Wait, she stabs him, but he kills her?
Yeah. She stabs him, and then he gets the killing blow on her and starts bleeding out, but he still lived past that. But the theme of the game is like, at least to me, the theme seems to be that history isn't everything that's made up to be, because the premise of the story is that history says that the leader was a good, kind king and he stops the war between nations. But there's more to the story that needs to be uncovered, and that's Ram's story, the protagonist's story, that gets uncovered. And as you're playing through, you realize the leader didn't actually do a whole lot besides just play the political game of moving up in the world, while Ramza was the one that stopped the war and stopped all the powers and everything. So the leader's history has remembered the leader, but because Ramza got branded a heretic, the church has been burying his life and keeping the leader as this great figure in history. But
So do you think you'll take those outlooks on life with you into day-to-day life as you look around the political landscape of the current clusterfuck we exist in?
I live in Australia. We're already getting people outed for corruption.
It's just a weekly event here.
Yeah, it's just a weekly event of seeing politicians trip over themselves over here.
What would you give it out of 10?
Probably like an 8. Like I said, it's still still a good game, but like the place I'm coming from where I think it's a little overrated is people make it out like it's a 11 out of 10 game, where I'm sitting here like, no, I enjoyed it a lot. It's an 8 out of 10.
Have you been playing the original version? Because I think, if I recall correctly, and don't quote me on this, there is like some sort of enhanced edition with air quotation marks that I'm doing that you can't see.
Yeah, there's a PSP remake as well. I've been playing the PS1 version because I had heard that was the better version. Turns out it's not. The PSP remake is actually preferable in some ways, or doing the PS1 version with mods that puts in the PSP enhancements.
PSP Master Race.
Yeah, and then the PlayStation Vita version running PSP ROM would just be the next step up again, I assume.
Oh, exactly. That is the peak way to play it because it's on the Vita's OLED screen.
Yeah, what a great console.
So, with Sony taking down their support for the stores soon, how will our lovely one listener out there in the world go and be able to play this?
Emulation. That's how I played it.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I was just wondering if there was any more official channels than that. But yeah, emulation sounds good.
Here on the Fast Travel Lounge, at the very least, I endorse emulation when you're not able to legally buy a game.
Yes.
And when you are legally able to buy a game?
I still support emulation, but you do you.
All right, cool. And it also seems that you watched Shang Chi. How was that?
Shang Chi was really good. So I did a group watch of that with my girlfriend and some of her friends, and we just got together and watched Shang Chi over the weekend because it was just on Disney Plus and some of us hadn't seen it. It was my girlfriend's third time seeing it though because she enjoys that movie a lot.
So you were the Shang Chi and your girlfriend and friends were the Seven Rings?
I would have preferred to be a ring actually because those things are really cool. So to get
I don't
into
know
the
what
ring,
this is. I'm pretty sure Steven might not know what this is. Can we
No,
get a...
I saw it last week.
You saw it last week? Okay, well, I'm the only one that doesn't know what this is. Can someone give me a synopsis
Can someone
before
explain
we
it
dig
to,
into this?
to Josh's hypothetical friend what
Yeah,
Shang-Chi is?
Marvel Dragon Ball Z basically.
That is a terrible explanation. give me 2 sentences of basic plot.
Basic plot.
It's a Marvel movie. What do you mean basic plot?
There is no plot in a Marvel movie. This is my problem. Where's the plot in this?
So the character Shang-Chi is trying to run away from his life problems because his dad is a 1,000-year-old assassin. But after he calms down for a bit, because, his dad calmed down for a bit, got a family, and then his wife died because of his past actions.
So
and,
modern day film, like
Yeah,
ancient?
modern day film.
Okay.
So his dad's lived for 1,000 years, but during that 1,000 years, it's like now we're at current time. But after his mother dies, his dad goes back to his crime lord ways, and he starts hearing voices saying that she's back in her magical homeland, and he needs to free her because only the 10 rings have the power to break this seal, and it turns out that it's dark creatures calling him from across dimensions to free them so they can eat human souls.
So is this based in the real world? Is it a fantasy world?
Mix of both.
Mix of both?
It starts off in the real world and it goes into a fantasy world later.
So just gold encompassing it. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. So what do we think?
It's really, really good actually. It's probably my third favorite of the Marvel films. The other top
you've
two.
lost my interest.
Oh, now we got to know the top one. Here we go. We're back onto Marvel chat, fellas.
No, continue.
Top 3 for me would be Iron Man, Winter Soldier probably, and Shang-Chi.
Okay.
So who would win in a fight?
Shang-Chi. And those 10 rings are pretty damn cool.
All right.
So,
what about One Ring versus Iron Man?
I think One Ring would still do very well against Iron Man. So they took the bold decision to turn the 10 rings from actual rings around your fingers to be 10 armbands. And on a visual level, I can see why they did that, because it gives them a whole lot more range to work with for fight choreography, because they start being thrown around like Dragon Ball Ki blasts, or being used like whips, or flailing them around to make a shield against bows and arrows and other sort of weapons.
So
So-
is she a superhero? Is that
Oh, Shang Chi is a guy.
is he a superhero?
By the end of the movie, yes.
Yeah, by the end of the movie, yes.
So can
Spoiler
we expect
alert.
to see them in like Avengers stuff?
The theory at the moment is he's going to be leading up the East Coast Avengers, because I believe the main Avengers are on the West Coast.
Right. Okay.
Are they? I thought they were all based in New York.
Okay, yeah, yes, they're
But
East
or is he
Coast
the
and
other-
he'll be West Coast.
Okay,
I
yeah.
get my US map mixed up.
I just look in
Gonna
a mirror,
be
then you're
throwing
right.
up gang signs, West Side.
Yeah.
Taking
But
over the next movie.
also in the movie, his sister is like probably my favorite character in the movie, and she is going to be someone to look out for in the future of the series as well.
But they do call out to Wong from the Stephen Strange sort of aspect of that. So maybe he's sort of connected to that sort of universe. Maybe he'll be in that
Maybe
Multiverse of Badness one that's coming out. Was there an after credit scene? I don't know.
there's two after credits scenes. I'm just trying to dance around them at the moment to not spoil it,
Okay.
because it's just come out on Disney Plus.
Yeah, no, there have to be after credits. That's where all the plot is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's why all the Marvel boys I just can't wait to see the after credits. That's why I watched that part 3 times and not the actual
Ev-
movie.
That's why I sneak into cinemas at the end of the film just for the plot.
It's gotten to a point now where every movie has an article of, does this movie have an after credits scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, and every other movie trying to copy it as well.
Yeah, I went
Yeah.
to see a My Hero Academia movie a few weeks back with one of our friends, and he was waiting around going, I'm sure there's going to be an after credit scene. And I'm like, I if there is, I don't care. I'll watch it online. Like, I'm not waiting around in this theater. There's no way.
But yeah, just before I move off Shang-Chi, my top 2 points for the movie is, hey, this is an actual Marvel movie with proper fight choreography, so the fights don't look like shit now. And it's not tied down by Tony Stark's legacy. They make like one callback, which is like a full Marvel thing, and there's a little bit of Doctor Strange in there because of the character Wong, but they avoid tying down the character by any Tony Stark legacy bullshit that they have been for Spider-Man, which instantly makes him a good character for me.
Fair enough. Is it a strong enough film that you'd actually suggest someone go and pick up Disney Plus to watch, or just strong if you have it, but you're not missing out much if you don't?
I recommend watching the movie. Disney Plus is like, if you want to support the mouse, go for it. If not, just find other ways to watch the movie.
So you would support emulating the movie?
Yes. Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum, get on those pirate ships.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you for that, Seth. I think we will elegantly transition into me talking about Road 96 for 5 minutes, just because I teased at the end of last episode that I was going to finish it this week. I did. The points from last week are still valid. The soundtrack is still the highest point of it, but I thought, and was sadly proven correct, that the story was going to be all of your choices will make sense at the end, trust me. But the biggest downfall of it, which I pointed out last week, but just want to dig into a little bit again here, is that because so much of it relies on proc gen, right? Like, you're just a teenager, you're just a random teenager, but so many of the choices that the game asks you to make, you make from the context of, I have been playing this person for 30 minutes, and at the end, this character will mean absolutely nothing to me. So it's really weird that the game puts you in situations where you decide to either save a recurring character that you've met, X number of times across different playthroughs, or just the random nameless teenager that you're currently playing as. And I tried to go for, I'm not even sure. There are multiple endings. I don't know which ending I got relative to like the good ending, the bad ending, the best ending. I feel like there's probably 3 or 4. The one that I got was that the state won. There was a revolution and it got crushed, as it should be. But the but I do intend to give it another go and just see how much anarchy I can cause. Because I think I'm interested to know how much of what my ending was based on my choices or based on sort of proc gen circumstance. And I say that as there are just sort of weird moments where you get to the final stage as a character, and I didn't even think that it was going to be going into the epilogue, but I get taken into a detention center, and the whole thing is there is this big event happening in a couple of months from when you start the game, and it just puts you in this detention center for like several weeks, and then that just goes straight to the epilogue. And so the character that I was playing as meant absolutely nothing to me, but it was really funny seeing characters that I'd met maybe once before trying to put me in these sort of emotional moments of do you want to save like a character you actually know the name of or yourself. And naturally, for story purposes, I always chose save the other character, which meant that quite a few of the times that my characters died, it was in service of getting another character out. But yeah, it is a bit of a shame that it sort of falls on its own sword of wanting to set up this big finale and it just not really paying off. I stand by my criticism last week in that if the developers had just gone and made a developing, branching, like make it a non-linear story, but make it like a handcrafted non-linear story rather than just leaving it up to procedural generation, I think having certain elements tweaked and decisions made to place certain moments at certain parts through your run through the game would have just made it stronger overall. Like you get into there's like I had a big rant about this to someone else, but there's like a really like funny, but in the context of the game, annoying moment where at the playthrough, at the end of one of the playthroughs, you just bump into a character who has had this big existential crisis, and the game gives you like a 1-minute cutscene of here's what happened to her. Character's name Zoe, doesn't really mean anything. Here's what happened to Zoe since the last time you saw her, and it's just like a 1-minute montage of like a silent film of just her being put into random situations, and that whole thing is just to set it up so that it's not weird when you suddenly bump into her again, because the last time that you saw her on a previous playthrough was being taken away by the resistance. And so you meet her again and she's like, I had this big change of heart. I've decided I'm going to help people, but the way that I'm going to help people is by doing things that I always had the power to do, and I haven't really changed the character. You're like, okay, cool, probably just a procedural generation quirk, fine. You then go to sleep and wake up with the intention of crossing the border the next day. But you wake up and you were supposed to cross the border together, and there's just a note saying like, hey, I had to leave. I think it would be safer if we crossed individually. I'm sorry. And you're like, okay, fair enough. Characters have never lasted more than one like day or sequence with the person you're playing through as anyway. Fine. You go into the next area and you bump into her again, and her first thing is, hey, I'm really sorry for leaving you back there. I hope you'll forgive me. And it's like, we've known each other for like an hour. What do you mean? Like, the procedural generation, I'm sure there's a chance that like reuniting moment would mean something to another playthrough. But to mine, it just felt so disjointed between having a random chance encounter with a character and then it trying to be this emotional like, oh hey, I'm really sorry for making a choice without you, blah blah blah. We should still go over the border together. And I'm not even sure if it's a spoiler or not, but she winds up getting that character killed at the end of that playthrough. So man, just nothing but a sequence of bad choices from Zoe at the end of that one. That's pretty much all I want to say about Road 96. I stand by the 6 out of 10 I gave it last week. If it's on sale, probably worth like looking at if you're interested in Life is Strange stuff, but I wouldn't stray too far out of my way for it, but still would highly recommend people listen to the soundtrack.
Okay, sounds like more of the same from last week then, hey?
Yeah, bit of a shame, but glad I finished it. I needed to know.
Are you satisfied with the ending? But that's the most important question.
No, I'm not. That's what I mean. The whole thing is just like the game is just setting up like, hey, don't worry, you made a bunch of choices, but I bet you're going to wonder how they all come together. And then they all come together and you're like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame because it sounded like the ending was what was going to tie the whole game together from either jumping up from a 6 out of 10 or just staying where it was.
Yeah, like the bit that sort of annoyed me, just as like a final, I think it's more of just like a writing criticism of it, but all of the recurring characters had been written such that they almost all knew each other. and that the whole role that you played in the game was just working out these interactions between them. Like there was one moment that I can think of where two characters met that hadn't previously met, but it meant so little. Like having the game written in a way that characters develop relationships as they go rather than you just sort of unearthing the connections, I think would have just made it a much stronger story-driven game, and that's what it tries to sell you on. So yeah, it's a shame, but the soundtrack's still awesome, so oh well, I guess.
At least there was one positive takeaway.
Yeah, but that one positive is still a definite selling point. The soundtrack, anyone out there that's interested, you can just find on Spotify. Just Road 96 soundtrack, people will find it. Shall we move on to Steve with what you've done that isn't Pokemon?
Yeah, so I've been watching the live action Cowboy Bebop. That came out last week. I'm only up to episode 5, I think. Just watching one episode a night. Not a fan of the binge it all and see how we go type of thing. So generally, I'm really enjoying it. I'm a big fan of Cowboy Bebop, the anime. I've watched it probably 3 or 4 times through. Most recent time was probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
I'm just gonna catch you up on gonna ask about one thing you said there. You said you really enjoyed it. That seems to be at odds with everyone.
Literally everyone. All I've been seeing is that the Netflix show is horrible, and they didn't understand the show at all.
Well, maybe it gets like towards the end, but
most people I saw tapped out by episode 4.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's
Hideo
the problem.
Kojima tapped out at episode 1.
Should we really be taking advice from him on what makes a story good? It's probably the key takeaway there. But it's good. The soundtrack is like really nice. They probably do overperform the jazz a bit. It does. It's always there. It sort of feels like even the quiet moments there's always something going on, and it's sort of distracting from the tone. But the characters of both Spike and Jet, they're both like really good. They've got like a good cop, bad cop vibe that is in a way that's cringy, so it really translates well from the anime. I think I've only seen like 2 episodes with Faye, and she's really good as well. They've definitely toned down her sex appeal, which I think is a positive thing. She's just more than eye candy now. She can actually do things.
You mean because it's live action that they can't just enlarge parts of the cartoon?
What do you mean? Chest size should be 3 times bigger than the head size, right? That's just normal.
That's just Japanese
I've never seen a
animation
woman before, I swear.
Is it the original soundtrack just redone and recomposed, or is it different music?
I'm pretty sure it's recomposed plus with a bit of extras. They redid the intro, and I get the feeling they redid the ending as well, and there's some like during fight scenes and stuff. I'm not really that familiar with the soundtrack, but it does seem familiar enough that I can't pick up that's like, oh, this doesn't suit the scene at all. But yeah, there are some like quiet scenes or some tense scenes, and it's like, oh look, there's a saxophone playing.
some really tense moments. Then Jazz is just like, hello there. The story is the story also taken from the original, or did they try and do something new with it? Because I know very little about either the original or this remake.
They try to stick to it in some ways, but they have done a couple of extra things exploring Vicious, which is sort of the bad guy, antagonist. Yeah.
Which you never, like in the original anime, you kind of don't even hear about him at all, except for like a flashback memory very early on. And then he pops up very, very briefly towards the end of the anime. So that's probably a good thing, but it's also one of the things I really loved about the anime was that it was just so open to interpretation and just respective of real life rather than trying to be a drama show. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'll have to give it a watch.
Yeah, like I rate it. Like probably give it. Well, I think it's like only 10 episodes long. The episodes are about between I think 35 to 50 minutes. I'm enjoying it. Maybe try a couple of episodes if it's not for you. I will say that the fight scenes look very choreographed in a way that to the point where it's like you can tell it's not natural. But maybe that's because maybe it's the camera angles, maybe it's the style of what they've chosen to do. But it does seem very overdone. But then at the same time, the fight scenes in the anime were overdone, and maybe because it was an anime, it doesn't feel cringy. But when it's translated on that
Yeah, I
one-to-one,
was wondering if that would
Yeah.
just be like a translation issue between
Yeah,
the different formats.
it probably is.
I was gonna say the same thing because the original, like the fight scenes were very, like he did stuff that would have to be choreographed to be done in like a live action format, but it was done in such a way that he basically like was clumsy and kind of like fell through the combat almost. So I don't really know how that would translate to the real world camera. So it would be
Jackie
be very
Chan has been
difficult.
doing that for literally decades.
Yeah, but Jackie Chan does it in a comedic way. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
it doesn't really suit. Like there are a couple of like minor fight scenes towards like the start of episodes, like as they're building up there, and a couple of like chase scenes where it's like all right, but there's like big fight scenes towards the end, and it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty weird. Like nobody moves like that, and if you actually fight like that, not that I'm a fighter by any way, shape, or form, but it's like that's it.
But your
like,
best friend that is a fighter would criticize it, I assume.
yeah, of course. So
Yeah.
so there's this popular YouTuber called Logan Paul, right?
Oh no, no,
Oh
no,
my
no.
god.
This is your call, that big fella. I'm waiting. But yeah, long story short, I'm enjoying it. If you really like the anime, probably give it a couple of watches, see if it resonates with you. Maybe even give it a view, even if you're not a fan of the anime. Like you might sort of tune on to this a bit better.
See, weirdly, I actually think Josh might enjoy it because statistically his opinion is wrong. So if the prevailing opinion
Ooh.
from the internet is that it's terrible, he might actually quite enjoy it.
You say that, but you loved Gunfire, and I really liked Deep Rock so far. So I don't know, man. Maybe my opinions are changing now
also
that I
like
have to
Skyrim.
predict to them. I love Skyrim.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think everyone
These are
likes
fighting
Skyrim.
words.
That's one of those things that never go away.
Seth's just lying quietly in the shadows of the of the recording, waiting to strike, and then just hits them with the Viper Bite of Skyrim as shit, then dabs and runs out.
Meanwhile, he's got like Todd Howard is bad posters all around his walls, and he's recording him.
Oh
you
no,
know?
I love Todd Howard. He's a great man. I wished for him to tell me more lies.
Joins a podcast, says Skyrim is shit, refuses to elaborate, leaves.
I did elaborate last week though.
Yeah, it's true.
The Chad Skyrim hater.
Yeah.
Should we, speaking of things that I do like, that you also like, should I quickly touch on Gunfire before we move on to Pokemon?
Yes, please.
Yeah?
Sure. I mean, alternatively, whether Steve wanted to touch on Halo Infinite, which I understand you've been playing quite a bit of as well.
Oh yeah, or playing quite a bit of like trying to do a juggling act of playing Halo and Pokemon. But they've sort of it's still in the beta form. Not really much changes from last week. The battle pass thing is still pretty rough, and it's sort of hard to get progress. Like there's 100 levels, and I'm at like level 10, and it's like 1,000 XP points you need to level up, and you get like 50 per game, and it's pretty rough like that. They have started a sort of seasonal weekly event. Where you can get like samurai armor, and that's like the Tenrai event, and that's sort of cool. Like it does have like a new multiplayer mode. I think it's called Festival or something, and it's pretty much just like random loadouts, and it's like actually the chaos when you're dropping with like a pistol and a rocket launcher. And it's like, oh, how good I've got a rocket launcher. And then you get like 4 shots. You're like, all right, I'm out. What do I do? So I'm having fun with it. I'll keep playing with it. Probably keep playing it for ages. Still having battle pass problems, but the important thing is that I'm having fun.
That battle pass is so bad.
It's atrocious.
The samurai armor looks so bad compared to the one that was in Halo 3 that they're trying to like harp back to, because everyone wanted it in Halo 3 and it looked great. This just looks like a cosmetic. It doesn't look like it suits a Spartan.
Well, the problem with that is though, because it's the armor as a whole instead of like bits and pieces from the armor, you can't really customize with things that would look better. And because with the way that they've done the color schemes, the color schemes come as you can only you can change everything or you can change nothing. So you can't even get that real balance of like painting it to look like cool, different, or anything like that. So, and it does look classic-y, but at the same time, I'm sick of looking at the standard Spartan. I think it's the Mark 5, whatever they're up to armor. Give me something new. And this is the easiest way to get to it that I'm not having to pay money for.
True.
And that's it. Halo
Definitely.
returned.
Definitely hit me up when they decide to do Monster Hunter style buff body gamma as a
Oh god.
layer,
I
as
hope
like
they
an
don't do
armor layer. I want to say layered armor, but of course that's the Monster Hunter term.
I can't
I
wait
don't know,
to
because
hear that to release a
cosmetic
pet that you
skin,
nicknamed
whatever you
Pikachu.
call it in Halo. Hit me with that buff body gamma, then we'll talk.
Cool. I played a little bit of Infinite as well this week while we're on the Infinite bit.
Oh, go
I
on
was
then.
a bit harsh on it last week. I think it is still fun. It's not.
I mean, the day before recording, you wanted to completely end it. So I mean, yeah, some could say you were harsh on it last week.
I was a little harsh on it, but it is a fun game. It's definitely still in beta. There are issues, but yeah.
We tried to play yesterday and it
enjoying
just
it a little
crashed
bit.
on us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it just literally crashed. We played like 3 or 4 matches before you jumped in, and then you jumped in. We played like 1, I think, or maybe 2, and then it crashed.
2 or 3.
Yeah, and then I was just like, nah, if it's crashed on me, like it's done. Let's play something else. Which then I actually went to play Gunfire.
Well, speaking
segue.
speaking of appropriately timed segues, Gunfire Reborn is out. How have you been enjoying it?
Yeah, so obviously I kind of shilled Gunfire while you were talking about Gunfire in episode 1, way back when. And
our premiere episode.
Oh, I know.
Some would say the highlight of our careers.
It does have the most views and listens.
Yeah, statistically, it's our best episode. So I mean,
true.
Buckle up for the downhill.
But they've now released what they're calling version 1, and which is basically just, hey, we've now finished with the base level of the game. It's now coming out of early access. They've released a whole new stage with a new boss. There's a whole bunch of new weapons, a whole bunch of new scrolls, and a new character on top of that. So, touching on it very quickly because I don't want to spend too long on it. The new stage is very fun. They've made a few changes where you can only get like 1 skill out of 3 in the last couple of stages now. The last boss is literally just a DPS check, which is kind of unfortunate. It kind of kills the vibe a little bit for me. I think maybe you have a different impression, Patrick, but I think everything leading up to that was very high-paced, dodge, do damage, just keep on top of the core gameplay loop. And this was just do as much damage as you possibly can in this time, or you basically lose. So I'm not a massive fan of that, but the entire game as a whole, now that it's released, is still like a 9 out of 10 in my eyes. So highly recommend picking it up while it's on sale.
See, I can't even really comment a huge amount because every time that I've played Gunfire Reborn, it's usually been on the back of an invite from you or some of our other Discord friends, where what I do is basically irrelevant through the game. And we get to we get to 45 minutes. If we win, great. If we don't, oh well. But any kind of DPS check is I mean, mechanically I'm sort of on the fence. I think it depends on how it's done, but the DPS check in Gunfire Reborn, I think I have to be against, just because I have never been able to clear it. But I've also never really tried clearing it solo. Have you had a chance to play the new character?
I have, yeah. No, he's actually quite fun. He's an actual like tank, which the game was missing. So he throws up a shield, and then you basically your grenades, because you have like grenades in this game, which is the secondary skill for every character. His version of this is just punching, and while he has his shield up and he's blocking damage, he can just keep punching enemies, and a whole bunch of things happens while he's punching. When you throw down your shield, like when you like drop your shield, it'll do damage to everyone in front of you based upon damage you've absorbed, which is quite cool as well. Including things like buffing your rate of fire and other bits and pieces, like really perks. So he's more to be like in the face, tanking and supporting the team, which, yeah, the game just didn't really have. There was the bird, which was going to leap in and do damage, and I have armor to regen so I can stay in the fight, but there was nothing that was supporting per se the team. So I think it was a good addition. I just think the boss itself at the end it's a little bit of a shame.
And he's a pangolin of all things as well, which is pretty baller.
It is, yeah, it's pretty cool. It took me a while to figure out what it actually was, but yeah, it's basically a pangolin with like scuba gear on, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right, the scuba gear.
Yeah, he's got like scuba glasses.
Yeah, even though there's like, I guess there's a little bit of water in the third area, but there isn't exactly a huge amount of water going.
No, I mean, yeah, the third area is mostly water, and then the fourth area is just snow. So for them to add him with the snow update just seemed a bit weird. But yeah, no, I think it's still a very, very, very good game overall, right? So, do you have any closing remarks on it, Patrick?
I would rate the game highly. I've spent quite a lot of time in there. I am very far below the level and skill of people I play with, which, just like in life. But But no, I'd recommend people go and check it out. And did I hear Steve say that it's on sale currently?
It is, but it's only 25% off, so that's not even worth getting out of bed for. Anything less than 50% is a waste of money.
Yeah, 25% off. It's not an $80 game. It's an indie game that's pretty cheap. So solid pickup for the price.
I mean, chances are it'll probably go on sale for Boxing Day. Anyway, though, would
Sure.
be my pick, or summer sale. Well, I
Or
guess
Black
winter
Friday.
sale for people that aren't here. Possibly. I feel like those sales have already gone though. But yeah, no, that's probably all the closing remarks from me.
So what's the reborn part? Is like someone coming back to life? Is it someone play that Monster Reborn card from Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, that card's banned. They can't play it.
No, it's unbanned now, isn't it?
No, it's banned still.
Oh, okay.
But funny enough, Patrick was saying when we were playing yesterday or the day before, because there's obviously gunfire part of it. He's like, I'm not really doing much of the gunfire part, more just the reborn part, because if someone dies, you can rush over to them and pick them up. So that's, I guess, the reborn.
But if someone dies enough, you can rush over and they still die. But this time, when they die in Gunfire Reborn, they stay dead.
Well, they stay dead until you can buy them back at a store. There's stores that randomly appear in the maps, and then you can buy them back. As people get downed, they get downed for less and less time, so eventually they time out super quickly. So then you just can't pick them up. So that's kind of the mechanic.
It's like the Borderlands mechanic or any other one, where someone that keeps like chain dying over and over again, it becomes harder and harder to res them, which it makes sense. There are ways to like skill back against it and things, as some of the progression and levels that you get within Gunfire.
Yeah,
cool.
one of them in particular, if you pick up like an ally, then you lose like some of the death penalty. So if you're all dying sort of even amounts, you can sort of keep picking people up, and your time gets less overall as a team, but it's manageable. So I ended up dying. So in terms of the damage numbers, an average damage number in the game for me is about 40 mil, 50 mil. I did 270 million in the last game I played earlier today. So I was doing insane amounts of damage, but I went down 40 times. So people kept kept picking me up. So it was like this glass cannoning. But yeah, no, it's very, very, very cool mechanics and pretty standard for a lot of game things. Just a lot of good mechanics meshed well into one situation in a roguelike game. Just, I don't know, something about that just really hits me right.
Very good. Speaking of other things that have hit you right, shall we move on to Pokemon?
I see you guys later. I'm out for the next hour or so.
I mean, you played the originals, right, Seth?
No, I haven't.
You haven't played those.
I haven't played Gen 4 at all.
Oh,
it's the second best gen,
my
man.
God.
What are you missing out?
I'd say the third best gen, but here we are.
Oh no,
I mean,
it's
got some stiff competition with Gen 2, Gen 3, and Gen 5.
And Gen 3, baby.
Gen 2 is not very good. Gen 5, however.
Gen 2 not very good, but Gen 5, oh, that's like the polar opposite.
Anyway, back so Shining Diamond.
So when are we kicking Steve out again?
Yeah.
If the audience would like Steve to leave, tell us in the comments.
Please, no. I'll be famous one day. I can't go back to selling my feet pics.
He's got to ride this out till he fights Logan Paul.
1 round knockout, 10 seconds. Logan Paul undefeated. Oh, rats.
That sounds about right. So, in your attempt to introduce Gen 4 again, Stephen, do you want to give another go?
Gen 4 best gen. No, I'm really enjoying it. I love it. It's I'm only halfway through, I'll be quite honest with you. And it doesn't really do anything different, but doesn't need to. Like, it's fantastic. I really like it. I hate the chibi art style. 100% hate it. It was dumb. Don't know why they chose it, and how they zoom in on characters talking. Like when you're in the why would you have a chibi art style and then have the camera zoom in? Ridiculous. Let me speak to the CEO of Nintendo.
I guess while we're on the artwork, I really don't like it as well. I understand why they did that approach, but it worked well for sprites. It doesn't.
Yeah,
work
why
well for
did you say
model.
you say that you understand why they did that? Why did they do it? Because I've been struggling to figure out why they did it this way.
So what they said was that they wanted to keep it true to the original art style. So I think they took it too literally, as in this is the shape that they were, and here's how we're translating that into 3D to make them look like Nendroids or Fisher-Price toys.
I like it. Then again, I also
it?
like World of Final Fantasy, and they have a very similar chibi style to them.
See, I didn't like World of Final Fantasy either, but I don't mind the chibi art style in a lot of things. But this just looks so unbelievably plastic and fake. And there was edits going around as early as like 2 days after the trailer dropped, where they showed the art style with just thick black borders around things, just to make them look a bit more like cel shaded and stuff. And that was immediately a million times better.
Yeah, there's definitely ways they could have improved this, but I think on like a general basis of the chippy style, I don't mind it. I still enjoy that part a little bit, but they could have definitely made it look a lot better.
Yeah,
The game definitely looks cheap.
It does, and you say that, right? But I don't know if have you got to the point where you've got surf yet, Stephen?
No, but I've seen a couple of videos from it, and even like walking past areas that do have like water, it seems like just turned RTX on and just hope for the best.
It looks good. I like
it. It does. It does. Like, and the reflections in the water as well, like fantastic as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I've so I guess for context, I beat the game in like a day, because I have no self control. So I smashed out the game. I'm in the post game, well into the future. I've seen all the areas of the map. The part with the box art legendary fight looks great. There's certain forest areas that look amazing. The water looks really good, and then it's just all wrapped up underneath this really chibi art style for every character in the game, undertoned by like really flat grass textures and battle scenes that just you can tell where they've put their attention, and I think it was in the wrong places, personally.
So it's interesting that you bring up on the battle scenes. Can you expand on that? Because I have something to say about that. I just want to see if we're on the same page with it.
So some of the battle scenes in general. So when I say battle scenes, I mean you enter like a fight, or you enter a Pokemon fight, for anyone that wouldn't be familiar with what I'm talking about, and you get the backgrounds of the fight. Some of them look very, very, very good. Like the ones on the water look good. The ones in certain forest areas, like I was saying, look really good as well. But then you get to like a generic grass one or a generic sort of trainer one, and it just looks flat and just very dull. There's not much happening. Like they could have done some kind of like 3D models on some grass or anything, and instead it just looks like they took like something green and then added like a few like clovers and stuff, and then flattened that to a 2D image and threw it in the background. I'm not a fan of it. What was your impressions of it, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, broadly the same. I haven't experienced as much of the game as either of you guys yet. As I said, up to Eternal Forest, which is like, I don't know. I'm sure I'm coming up on the second gym badge soon. But what I noticed, super minor thing, but I thought it was quite a cool attention to detail. One of my big complaints from Sword and Shield is that quite a lot of the battle scenes were just blank. Like you would get into a battle, particularly indoors, and you would just fight in the void, or wherever Harry Potter went, with Dumbledore when he was dead. You would just fight in this white expanse, and it didn't feel personable at all. What was really interesting with playing Brilliant Diamond is that the trainer school is, I think, the first internal battle that you have, and it's actually a sensical battle scene, which struck me just because the chances of it being it felt so in place within the trainer school that my assumption is, because I haven't actually had many interior battles since, is that they actually took the detail, they took care to make the interior battle scenes unique or memorable, rather than just sticking you in the void like Sword and Shield did. It was just a minor detail that I was actually quite a big fan of.
I definitely did notice that as well. So there's, as you were saying, that part. Anyone familiar with the original games, you fight your rival Barry or whatever you called him at the very end, just before the Pokemon League, inside that area with the Pokemon Center and everything. That's done really well as well. The box art has its own battle scene. There's a whole bunch of things that are done really, really, really well. So my biggest complaint is just, why did they not do the basic ones like grass well? Why did they just leave that?
And that's entirely valid. Speaking of rivals, quick rival check. What did we name our rivals? Steve, you first.
Damien, because that's what he was called in my original one 15 years ago.
All right, so you went for the nostalgia hit. Cool.
Yeah.
Josh?
I called him Barry because that's his name in the game.
His name. That's canon.
It's canon, yeah.
What's yours, Patrick?
I went with the Legend 27.
Ah,
I didn't know what that was until you linked me that video either, Patrick.
Oh boy. But he never wins, though. It's nonsense. It doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I didn't actually think about it at the time. It just seemed funny, and it's great just seeing. There's something that's just inherently funny to me about seeing like gamer tags just put in place of people's names in everyday speech. Like when his mum's running around, like, have you seen the Legend 27?
Yeah, that's quite good though. I will
It's,
admit.
Right.
it's just very funny to me.
So the real question is, what did you name your own character? Did you do the self-insert like what I did?
What do you mean?
Like I called my character Steven. Like he's. Hey,
Oh,
Steve,
no way,
how you
I
going?
also call my character Steven.
Oh, wow.
Oh no.
Because he always loses. No, I'm kidding. No, I call mine Patrick.
I must be the only one that actually entered, I guess, my gamer tag because I used Zadari in there, so I didn't actually put in Josh. So yeah, there we go. Look at us having differences. More importantly, though, we've all played Gen 2, I'm sure. What do we call the rival for Gen 2?
Question mark to Chad
Hey.
choice.
Attaboy.
That's pretty good, actually. I like that.
It's because when you after your first fight with him, he goes, "My name is," and it does 3 question marks, and it was my first Pokemon game. So when I go to the police officer later and it's like, "Oh, what was his name?" I just put in the 3 question marks because I
Yeah, you
didn't
just
realize
thought
you meant to
you
name
thought
him.
it was a math test.
I
Yeah.
legitimately did that, and I think I mean, I know Seth and I have had multiple discussions about this, going like, you know, we were playing through the game being like, I wonder when we find out his name.
The entire game, even after beating him at Victory Road. It's like, when am I gonna learn this fucker's name?
Post game story.
If you say if you find out his real name and say it 3 times, it's like Rumpelstiltskin. I've heard.
Isn't that Bloody Mary?
Could be anything.
I mean, if you want to die, sure. Rumpelstiltskin, I think, just has to give you a shit ton of money, but.
But for your firstborn child that he's gonna eat. But, you know, fair trade.
Yeah, no, I knew there was fine print in there somewhere.
But yeah, I think very, very, very good game so far overall. When I had a look today when I saved, it was like 40 hours, so I'm 40 hours in.
No, far out.
I know I played too
Jeez, I
much
think
of
I'm
it.
like 4. Maybe.
I like my Pokemon games. I mean, I've started like EV training to do battle towers and stuff, so you know, I'm well and truly done with the game. But I think overall it was a very good experience. I experienced very little bugs, despite what a lot of people are saying on the internet. You know, I don't think they're as commonplace as what people are referring that they are. But no, very, very solid game. I would say very faithful to the originals as well. I just wish they went a little bit further with the convenience at like sections that they added. Like the no HMs is great, but why did they make single-use TMs? You know,
I was just that was been bothering me incredibly. I don't know why, because I think this is the first Pokemon game in a while that's reverted back to single-use TMs, isn't it?
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I quite enjoy the single-use TMs. It adds a layer of difficulty, even though the XP shares are always turned on and you're always 10 levels above anyway. Because it's not like look, I've got like a Thunderbolt team, I'm just going to teach that to before I hit the water gym, or I've got Flamethrowers, I'm going to teach that to all my Pokemon before I hit the grass gym. So it does sort of change it a bit, but they've done it in a very interesting way because, like, usually when you beat a gym leader and they give you a TM, they'll give you like 3 or 4 TMs. Like, it's common to get more than the 1 TM, so you don't feel like if you use it, it's gone forever type of thing, which I think is like a really interesting thing to do. Like, they admit that it is a problem, but they've offset it by giving you like multiple.
But they didn't offset it well. Like what I really wanted out of this was, you know, you can make it as faithful as you like, keep the single-use TMs, but when it comes to post-game and I'm 300 hours in, and I'm like, cool, I'm trying to breed a Pokemon with this very particular move, or teach this particular move, and I can't because I used the TM on a Pokemon 200 hours ago, and it happens to be the only one of that TM in the entire game. It's like, really? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's such a regressive mechanic. Because like the 2 sides of it, right, is that you have the tryhards like spinning up all the like egg tables and EVs and IVs and everything, like, which I'm fully in that camp. I've done that in pretty much every Pokemon game I've played since I figured out, you know, what was actually happening. But it screws people like me over because I don't like having a gap in a TM list because I think that I'm missing one and I need to go and find it, which means that I basically got a count of 2, or, you know, the number of TMs I get minus 1 as the number of things I can teach to, which across, you know, however many eggs or Pokemon I breed is some tiny, like, it's like a meaningless difficulty spike. And then on the other side, you've got I guess the wanting to remain faithful to single player game to the older generation games where they're only one use, and then you get to like department stores where you can buy them or acquire multiple of the same one. But I don't think that the casual people will be in that boat either, because if they go and use them all, they're in the same boat as the rest of us anyway. Like I don't know why. So I didn't understand why single use TMs are a thing. I understand even less why they are now just 3. It seems like it's such a regressive mechanic that just giving you 2 extra doesn't address it at all, which is weird because they've done so many other things to make it more accessible and to make it a game that has kind of quality of life bonuses. Like I don't like that XP share is turned on all the time, but I understand why it is. I don't like that. Well, actually, I don't mind that HMs no longer require you to teach them to a Pokemon that is only there to use HMs. So clearly they know that some of these mechanics deserve to be continued through even into remakes. I don't understand why they decided to draw the line at TMs.
Yeah, no, it's really weird because, like, just listening to it, this is really odd because the point of the remakes is to make the older generation games with the quality of life improvements from later down the line.
Exactly.
So you'd expect that TM requirement to be gone. Like, one of the biggest praises Gen 5 got was removing the TM usage and just making them infinite use.
One of the things I want to mention on this while we're on the TM discussion is that they've done a half job with it, not only in the reason that they give you more TMs, but you can now purchase a whole bunch of TMs at the battle tower with your battle points, which is an extremely grindy way to do it, but it exists, at least it exists. And then most of the other TMs in the game can actually be farmed in the underground section. So if there's a way to get them semi-infinitely by doing the underground or by doing the battle tower, you haven't actually changed anything whatsoever. So why not just make it so that they're flat and just available? They've done such a really, like, 3/4 of the job there, but it's like someone said, I don't want to do this, and just sort of like put their foot down, and they went, oh, we'll do everything we can to make it almost that way, which is just bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that point, do we want to talk about how great the underground is and how much of a time sink we're all putting into it? Holy shit.
It's so good.
I'm not up to it yet, but everything that I've heard suggests that that's going to be a big time sink of mine. Oh boy.
Holy shit, I lost so much time to it as a kid, and I'm losing so much time to it now.
That's what I was going to say too. Like, 'cause I never owned a Gen 4 game. I played my brother's one. I played Platinum a fair amount, which is funny because I actually remember very little of the story, which is good because I'm actually re-experiencing Gen 4 as I'm supposed to at this point. But all I remember from Gen 4, there was the underground. I really liked the underground, and the underground is back, and I'm all about it.
While we're talking about the underground, so I guess we should start with the changes that they've made to the underground. It is very much still, hey, there's gleaming spots on the wall, go dig them up, and you can get a whole bunch of various things. In the original, you basically got shards, evolution stones, and the spheres and stuff that you could trade for things. I think you could get heart scales out of there as well in the original. In this game, they've made it so that you can dig up these other things, which you're going to get addicted to, Patrick, because I know you. Basically, you dig up these little statue boxes, and these statue boxes basically you put them in your secret base in the underground, and they change what Pokemon spawn. So if you put down rock Pokemon, you'll spawn more rock Pokemon in the underground. They've also added big sort of like quote-unquote wild areas that are like a top-down sort of view that spawn particular Pokemon, that as you're running around the underground, rather than just being one big massive tunnels, it's now with various rooms of like sort of mystery dungeon-esque, where you walk in and there's a bunch of Pokemon in there that you can fight, capture, whatever. Walking out of those rooms will respawn all the glimmering spots on the walls for that area, for that route, if you will, and walking back in will respawn the Pokemon. So there's like ways to farm shinies in there and other bits and pieces. They've also added Diglets and Dug Trios that are around the map that if you're playing online or even offline, but it takes forever offline by yourself, you can run around and collect them. And once you hit 40 total for that session, you get 4 minutes of increased shiny chance. So it's doubled, I believe, down to 2,000 roughly. And you also get way more rare materials in the walls.
I hate how much I'm enjoying listening to this
Oh,
right now.
it's so
yeah, it's
addicting.
fantastic. It's so
So,
good.
because one thing that has come up is that they, I think because Gen 4 was a while ago for me, that the first big city that you're in, they try and sell you on GTS being a thing, right? Because that was the first sort of internet connectivity in a Pokemon game, I think, back in the originals. And of course, in this one, they're trying to sell you on which Facebook group do you want to join. Is the group mechanic actually used in things like the Underground? Like, if we all formed and joined each other's group now, would we all be able to experience that those mechanics together, or is it still a very kind of superficial attachment and you're still doing things by yourself?
I think it was a superficial attachment in the original one. It was very much like, oh, look, I'm part of group Dab Boys or something.
Group, you are what you eat, therefore I'm a tank.
Yeah. But I can't remember what it did. I remember I have a vivid memory of me being like 11 or 12 when it came out and reading Harry Potter at the time and calling my group the Potters. So when it came time to be like, oh, hey, what group are you in? And I had that flashback. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to join the group. I think it's just in name only. Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. I'm not sure if you've joined one.
So I have. My housemate joined the same group I did. So actually by accident. So us being cringe as we are, we just put Uwu. So
I did the same thing for Halo.
Just need to vote to kick Josh from the show for next week.
Yeah, I know, right?
Poll down below.
But yeah, it's like choose a group, and I just put like Uwu, like I'm never gonna use this. But it does work. So when you go underground, you get the 3 options. You get go alone, go with your group. Oh, sorry, there's 4 options. Go alone, go with your group, go by link code. So you can enter like a link code if you're trying to join like a streamer or whatever, or a friend sets up a link code and isn't in your group. And then just play on the internet with randoms. So it does work. It's cool. I don't think it's anywhere near as useful as just jumping on the internet and being with 30 people collecting these Diglets and whatnot. But if you had a group of a large number of friends, or you had like I don't know, like a big like shiny hunting session, and you all joined a shiny hunting group that was always online, you could do it that way. But I don't think it needs a lot of use. It's mostly superficial, but it's cool that it's there.
I know that they used the wild area, and I don't know if it went to the raids and the ice DLC for Sword and Shield. But do you see the underground being something that could be continually updated or made fresh in some way?
I don't think so. Basically, sort of what they did post game to make some changes is that they open up some more things that you can find, and you find things like rarer things more often. So as you grind them out, it's not such a grind, so you get like more evolution stones, more of the boxes and everything, as well as the Pokemon areas open up to the national decks, including all the previous starters up until Gen 4. So I've been hunting various Pokemon in there, and I've now got like all the starters and everything. But there's not really anything more that they could add to it, I don't think. Like, I think it's very much going to be, we're just going to leave this alone. This is the remake. Here's what you get. The one thing that they did add, which is quite cool, is Ramanus Park is basically an area where there's a whole bunch of sort of like caves that you go into in post game, and there's various legendaries in there. Well, there's a room for the legendaries. And as you're digging things up in the underground, you get mysterious shards and mysterious spheres in the post game, only once you've got the national decks. Once you're digging them up, if you get a certain amount of them, you can take them to Ramanus Park and say, hey, I want to trade this in for like a slate. And you put this slate into the cave, and it summons the Pokemon, and you go straight into the battle.
So it sounds like it's kind of like the Ice DLC raids that you do, because that was the one thing that I have the DLC, I just don't have the effort and intention of going and playing the DLC to get to the fun multiplayer raids. But the multiplayer raids sounded like an absolute high point of Sword and Shield. Is there it sounds like this might be like a similar kind of thing in the Gen 4 remakes?
It's similar in the way that it gives you access to the legendaries, but nothing else. You go into a one-on-one, like the very first ones you have to do are the Regis. You do the Regis. It's literally just a Pokemon battle. Like, you just go at the Regis as if you discovered them any other way in like Gen 3.
So when even on that though, so you say that you discover the Regis, is this including the ones that came out after Gen 4?
No, just the ones in Gen 3. So obviously Regisaur, Regirock, and Regice. If there are the other Regis, they might be in one of the caves that I haven't got to yet because you have to unlock them in order. So the first one's Discovery, and they're the Regis, and then the ones I haven't done yet, but they were the next ones on the list were Johto and something else. So I'm assuming like Raikou and everything are going to be in there, and then whatever the other Pokemon were going to be in the next cave that I'd need to unlock. And then after that, it'll unlock the more caves around that one, etc. I think there are various locks on the legendaries though, from what I understand. I think only Diamond gets the Johto legendaries, and I think Pearl
I was
gets
gonna say that.
bird.
Yeah, there's like a split between the birds and dogs, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple more splits as well. They've definitely sort of gated the legendary thing again, like they usually do with these type of things.
So I remember one of the fonder memories I have of Platinum was seeking out and getting Heatran. Obviously, it's not. I mean, it'd be pretty close to or in post game, but it's not a national dex thing. Heatran was introduced in Gen 4, and actually Regigigas was as well. Now that I think about it, as a Gen 4 Reggie. But is there like a distinction between post game legendaries for Gen 4, or is it kind of like all post game and national dex is where you just get the horde of legendaries?
So there is. I haven't got Heatran yet, but one of the post game stories you do, and not to give too much away, is basically to go get a Molten Core, which I imagine will be for Heatran. I haven't finished.
Boy, can't imagine what that's for.
I know, right? But basically, yeah, there is still stuff that is in the game. I haven't seen anything about Regigigas, but that people have discovered obviously that Shaman will be coming in an event in the future because they've found a bug in order to get to Shaman. So I think there will be events and other bits and pieces, just like they did for Gen 4, and more ORIS sort of internet distributions and stuff like that. But I don't think they're gonna update the game or anything with anything new. I think what's in the game is gonna be what's in the game.
And speaking of ORAS, one of my favorite spoiler, ORAS, my favorite game. I'm not ashamed to say it. It was a perfect game in my eyes. But the scanner system, the Pokemon scanner, and especially once you uncovered the national dex, and then like every route just became more populated with other Pokemon you could go and catch from other generations. Now I loved that. Please tell me there's a mechanic like that in the Gen 4 remix that I just haven't found yet.
Well, we should probably start off by saying that it only has up to the end of Gen 4 Pokédex. Like, it doesn't go up to the Gen 5 or Gen 6. It does include fairy types as a different typing. But it's pretty hard to see, especially with like Eevee gets a new evolution in Gen 6 Sylveon. That doesn't exist in this game. It's a hard cross off at the end of the Gen 4 decks. So it is only the 4 generations.
That's such a weird distinction, because it's like, someone that hasn't played anything except the previous Gen 4, they're like, oh man, I remember this game. And then they'll find that, you can no longer outrage fairy types and things. Like, this is different to my childhood.
Yeah, so they definitely included like fairy types as a way to like sort of change the meta. And it sort of is a bit weird, and I'm not really sure how the balance goes. Maybe at the Battle Tower it changes, or if they do competitive it goes a bit different.
Do they have the new moves?
So yeah, everything has the new learn sets, the new abilities, etc. of the current Pokemon. They just don't have new evolutions.
That just seems like, again, seems like just giving people 3 TMs instead of infinite. It's like, well, why?
Yeah,
why
it's
have you done this?
a half step, and maybe it's tangentially related to like the balance or something. If you include like all 8 generations of Pokemon in like one game, it makes it like, no, it's too many Pokemon, we can't do anything. But Oras did it pretty good.
God forbid someone actually wants to go and catch them all.
No.
You have to have multiple different consoles and multiple different games in order to do that, Patrick, as well as Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home subscriptions.
You mean one console with one game and a flag?
Perhaps. But yeah, they obviously updated, like I was saying, all the movesets, all the abilities and everything, and then left the other Pokemon out. I think it's a good thing. The reason why I think they left the other Pokemon out is because, for some reason, for better or worse, they really want competitive to stay in Sword and Shield, and they don't want to move anything over to BDSP, to the point where Pokemon Home's not currently available until sometime next year. So knowing Nintendo, probably see it December next year. Just like Pokemon Home was. But it's I don't know. I think especially post game wise, I think it needed a bit more in flavor of the competitive scene as well, because while they've changed a lot of the abilities and everything, and then as I was saying, got rid of the TMs, there's no way to reset EVs except for the berries like in Gen 4 either. It's just a whole bunch of, I don't know, just lackluster things. Like you can't,
Just weird decision making.
yeah, very weird decision making and things that seem anti-consumer almost to the people that actually want to get to these end games. Even if, like, say for example, they wanted to move the Gen 4 Pokemon into Sword and Shield when Pokemon Home releases, maybe they do that with DLC, maybe they don't. You wouldn't be able to do your Pokemon in Gen 4 currently very easily at all, and then move them to Sword and Shield for competitive use if that's what, sparks your interest, or even just to do the Battle Tower. Like, it's very hard to get bottle caps, for example. The hyper training does exist, but the bottle caps are very, very, very expensive for BP. And you can only get them with a level 90 plus Pokemon with pickup, I think, is the easiest way to get them. And it's just crazy. Like, if you're actually trying to build a team to do the post game that exists in this game, they really handicap you. There's even like
almost like we need a shortcutting battle pass to help get us there.
All right,
mean,
that's it,
maybe.
Big Fella. You've been warned.
Maybe they'll do like a platinum DLC that fixes all of this stuff. I would like it.
Yeah, the internet's been asking, like, or been trying to decipher whether or not there would be platinum DLC coming, because it seems it's weird in that when ORS came out, everyone's like, we really want Emerald, and they said we won't do Emerald, we'll do like a Delta Emerald episode as like post game, like a post game packet story, and that did well enough. But it seems like the consensus for Gen 4, because I actually never played Diamond or Pearl, I only played Platinum, so it'd be interesting how much of that I remember playing this. But it seems like the internet is very set that Platinum was the only way to experience Sinnoh, and that Pearl and Diamond were just lesser games compared to Platinum. So do you know if they have any, like, not like, I take it because you're already in post game, there's no like Platinum story or like a Platinum packet like there was the Delta episode, but do you think that Platinum actually could be involved coming back?
I think personally, I think it probably won't, because Nintendo has a habit, or Game Freak has a habit of, this is a remake, you get what you're given, look forward to the next release, especially when a lot of their attention is focused on Legends Arceus.
To be fair, this isn't a Game Freak game though. It's
not, but it's still produced by Game Freak. There's still
right,
Game
but,
Freak people being like well involved with the story and direction of the game. Ilka's kind of just putting it together. So
yeah, I just imagine that the reason they pushed it off to Ilka was so that for problems like this, they don't have to worry about doing it themselves. They can just defer it back to Ilka while they continue to work on Legends Arceus.
Yeah, I don't think it's a resourcing problem. I don't think it ever has been, though. I think it's just a mindset of, people want the remake, we'll give it to them so they're happy.
Yeah, we will give them.
This is not our interest, right?
They will get what they fucking deserve.
Yeah, like, I don't think they've ever...
I think it is a resource problem, because Game Freak is very adamant about staying a small company, like in terms of manpower, and with the size of the Pokemon IP in general, they've got to pump out new games every 2 years, so they don't have the luxury to go back and fix any problems that pop up.
Yeah, I just don't think it's in their interest, because it's not going to serve as a competitive VGC platform. They've already said that adamantly. Like, what else is there really to do except for to give the fans what they want, which, to be honest, they've never done. So, like, why? Like, I don't see them doing it. I would love for that. I would buy a Platinum DLC. I absolutely would. I very much am on the fence of, I love Diamond and Pearl because I played them as a kid, but when I played Platinum, I was like, this is what the game should be. And that's what I did with Emerald as well. So, I would love it. I'm still annoyed that there's no Oris DLC or patch to bring Emerald stuff in.
I was just about to start crying at the thought of that. Yeah. Battle Frontier Oris DLC, where you at? Instead, we got Mario Run.
That Battle Frontier tease at the end of Oris was real bad.
It's still being built, don't worry.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
I feel like we said this every week, but yeah, I don't know. I think I would love for it to be there. I just don't think it's going to be there. And I think the only way it will be there is if Legends Arceus becomes just like the new kicking dog of the rest of the internet that like Pokemon, because they never like what they actually get in the end. So if this is sold really, really well. If Arceus gets horrible criticism and people say we don't want Pokemon to be this, I think they will go back and throw DLC to this, but I don't think it's going to happen because Arceus is seemingly what a lot of people want. It's not what I want, but it's what a lot of people seem to want, so I think it really depends on how well that does in January, February.
God, I can't wait for Legends Arceus.
Obviously, a lot like us here in our mid to late 20s or mid to late 40s as the case may be. There's a decent chance that we've already played the Gen 4, like original Gen 4. I wonder what the impressions of someone, some 12, 13-year-old kid like we were, that this is their first taste of Gen 4. I wonder what they'd be thinking, because they don't have the basis of even knowing that Platinum is some kind of definitive addition to Sinnoh.
Kids these days are getting a lesser Pokemon experience than we ever got.
I would argue the opposite, actually. I think that Diamond and Pearl were amazing games for their time, but I think the remake is a better game than what the original games ever were.
Even with the exception of Platinum.
With the exception of Platinum, yeah.
Are we going to say what everyone's thinking? Is it better than Sword and Shield?
I would argue no.
Explain.
Okay, you've convinced me never to buy this.
So, the reason I say no is that, one, Sword and Shield isn't finished its arc, right? There's still more stuff coming for this because they want to use it as a competitive platform. So either that's going to be bringing the Gen 4 Pokemon in or just maintaining it with new events. I think that this game will very much be a, here it is, we're done, ship it out, leave it.
Kind of like a Let's Go type release.
Yeah, or even the same as Oris. Like there was no real updates. So yeah, there was.
Oris had a lot though.
It did, but all of their remakes that they've done has been this way. Sword and Shield's really been the only. We're gonna keep maintaining this game, and I do really like that. I think Sword and Shield as a Pokemon game for a main story was by far worse than this current game. But the competitive scene, the Dynamax abilities, being able to reset Pokemon and breed them really, really, really well.
So just as a gaming package, you mean?
As a gaming package, I think that it has so much more to offer to someone that plays a lot of Pokemon. If you're the type of person that picks up the Pokemon game and say, cool, I've played it, I've beat the Elite Four, I've done what exists as a post-game story, and I'm done with the game, the Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to be a better game for you. But if you're the type of person that will play it for 100 hours, 200 hours, to do battle towers, to do any vaguely competitive or online matches, or even just to sort of dig into the world as a whole, I think the Dynamax Adventure has much more replayability than something like the Underground. As much as I'm loving the Underground now, grinding that out to get TMs later will just feel like a chore. So I think Sword and Shield is the better game for me, but I don't think it's the better game for everyone.
See, that review, I agree with 99% of, which annoys me because that almost makes me want to go and just play the Isle of Armor, and I am just still not remembering the winter one, but just the DLC for Sword and Shield. Thank you, Crown Tundra.
I replayed the Sword and the DLC sort of to get hyped for this. The DLC are very lacking. There's a bunch semi-fetch quests, and there's zero battling. It's quite disappointing, and it's sort of
it's only the raids that I'm holding out for. I enjoyed watching content creators just with a bunch of mates playing through the raids.
The raids are fun, but that's just one aspect of the DLC, and I honestly was very burned from it. It's if they go down the DLC route and they do bring out sort of a platinum upgrade and they do the distortion and the battle frontier and that, I'd sort of want them to sort of give us that and maybe just an extra story plus extra battles and extra things to do. Don't just give us sort of an extra area to catch Pokemon and that's it. There's sort of got to be a bit more. But yeah, I think I do agree with most of what you're saying, Josh. The story and the animation is better in the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. But for
real talk though,
ongoing though, it's better.
Would the distortion world in Platinum DLC just be normal proportions?
Yes.
I hate that. Um,
Come to the distortion world. People look normal.
I mean, obviously, in the original game, you were quote unquote chibi as the sprite style, so it'll probably won't be. But
Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't actually know whether I'm in favor of it or not. I'm sort of just like I've noticed it, but I don't know if I've noticed it for good or bad reasons. In that it's a very chibi art style. We've already
hate it.
discussed that. I'm not going to Thank you, Steve. We're not gonna rehash what was already been said on that. But I've noticed it a lot every time we enter a battle where it goes from chibi in the overworld to like normal proportion. I don't even know what you'd call them. There's obviously it's like a homage to the Gen 4 like trainer sprites when you actually play it. But just the difference in proportions of that, I noticed much more than ever when it was sprite to like in older games basically.
Yeah,
like,
it's unrealistically jarring. Like it's
yeah, I don't know because
they've tried to
it's
exist in both worlds, and
yeah,
they
I
do
don't know
neither.
which side I come down on. Like, I don't know whether I actually don't like it or if it's just because I'm noticing it and I'm not sure how to feel about it. But I have noticed it.
I will say the most brilliant thing of what they've done is when you enter a trainer battle, the trainer will be in the position of what the sprite was
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Diamond
and
and
I
Pearl,
love that.
and they'll animate.
Yeah,
Mwah, chef's kiss. There you go. Bang. There's your game.
we
Fantastic.
need to talk about the
fantastic.
animation quality themselves on those Pokemon trainers, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you battle like a fisherman or something, he will fling his rod around and that Pokeball will come with him and he will launch a Pokeball out. Or if there's
Yeah.
a waiter,
Yeah.
he'll fall over and drop Pokeballs on the stage to release 2 Pokemon for the double
Yeah.
battle or whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
some of those animations are so good. And even on the chibi side of things, right? If you're talking and you're talking to like Cynthia or something, there's actually expressions on trainers' faces, which doesn't really happen in a lot
Yeah.
of Pokemon games.
That's an excellent point, actually. I
Yeah.
never even thought of that. You don't really get the expressiveness in, well, you get the very, very overt, like, my eyebrows are furrowed. I am in, one of 3 different expressions right now. But yeah, no, that's a good point.
The one that really stuck out to me that made me actually laugh out loud, and my housemate was watching me play because I was playing on the TV as well at the same time, and she laughed as well, was that basically when you verse the box legendary, and you get this look of shock as well as the 2, I forget what they're called, but like basically the admins of Team Galactic, and they might even be called admins, but you all do like this little shocked face and look up, and it's like this chibi head with a tiny little shocked face, and it's like, oh, whoa, and it really just sort of drove home to me how ridiculous it was, but at the same time I appreciated that there was like emotion and actually at least they took a little bit of care with what they were trying to do. So yeah, I don't know, I could go either way on it.
I think we've sort of come towards the end of throwing things out there. The one final thing I want to pick the group's brains about before we give overall thoughts, give final thoughts rather. One of my favorite moments, just because you mentioned as a favorite moment, Josh, in X and Y, is that this sort of harkens back to me noticing the battle scenes especially, is that there was a battle scene on a bridge, and it was actually animated as a battle scene on a bridge. And it's also around the time that you get, I think it was Garbite, or not, it might have been Garcho. I actually don't remember when it was relative to the X and Y storyline, but it was when the Pokemon learned Dig, and it was just monumentally funny to me playing through X and Y that you could get your Garbite, Garchomp, whatever, to dig when you're on a scene that's clearly on a bridge, and just the implication that you dig through the bridge and presumably fall to your death. But of course, in Pokemon, it's absolutely fine. Have you guys either noticed or had any moments like that of just kind of, I will remember this for good or bad for a while?
When you're sort of fighting near water, it looks like the Pokemon, like the reflections are like really good, so it looks like there's like you're fighting on water, but there's no like splashing, so it sort of just looks like you're hovering there like Jesus.
I noticed the same thing, and actually, when you say the reflection, yeah, like you dead set see the underside of the Pokemon and everything. Like it looks very good. They did a very good job on the water. But yeah, I haven't really noticed too much other than like the weird emotion faces or just some battle scenes that are particularly odd. I think the Battle Tower one is very good, which you'll see when you get to. But I think obviously noticing like what you said, where there's things inside buildings, which is going to be a one-off fight, and you're never going to see that scene again. But them having that scene in there is a really nice touch, and I appreciated it. So I remember a lot of those fights. But yeah, no. Otherwise, not too much.
Cool. So the final tangential point to that then is that have you guys seen any Pokemon animations where they do a move that's completely nonsensical from their attack animation?
Not to my memory, actually.
Because I saw a Wuzzle doing I think it was water gun on me just outside
yeah.
the Windworks, and it jumps back and then spins its tail at you, and then that's its water gun animation, and I couldn't help but just I couldn't help but give a cheeky wee laugh at that.
Yeah, that's piss, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are odd, like because I use a Togekiss in my team, that are just odd, like flamethrower coming from nowhere between its wings and stuff that'll happen. That just happen in Sword and Shield, so I guess I just kind of write them off as the usual. But yeah, there's a few of them actually thinking about it.
Every Pokemon has like 3 or 4 animations they do, and for certain types of attacks, and then it's just an effects placed over it.
So if you're in your Pokemon select screen and you click in I think it's the left stick, it does its special animation. You click in the right stick, it does its physical animation.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
pretty nice.
Cool. So, Steve, out of 10, what would you give it?
Haven't finished it yet, but I reckon it's a 9.
Yeah, you probably played as far as half the reviewers that looked at it, but 9, big numbers. What about you, Josh?
As a Pokemon game, I would give it a 9. As an overall game, I would give it a 7.
That is a weird metric.
It is a weird metric, but Pokemon games
too.
are not high standard to me. So
yeah,
overall, like Pokemon game it's a 9 out of 10, I think. And yeah, standard game, it's a 7.
I see the good old Nintendo bonus.
Yeah,
Nintendo
well,
tax.
it's not even a Nintendo tax. It's just I expected so little that I'm happy with what I got.
Wow. Yeah, I'd probably rest at about a 7 as well, because I'm
Bro, you
yeah,
haven't played it.
what I have played, I've enjoyed, but also what I have played, I haven't enjoyed as much as other Pokemon games, and I think in my heart I'm comparing it to the 10 out of 10 that was ORAS. So,
7.9
at the moment
out
at
of 10.
least.
Too much water, you say?
Oh boy, I'll never not be angry about that.
No, me hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah, Pokemon Blinding Diamond and Shining Pearl out now in a in a Nintendo store near you. Just get it online.
Emulate
cool.
it if you feel like it.
Yeah, emulate it. People were emulating it before it was even properly released, so I mean, you got plenty to seek and you shall find online. And with that, that brings us to the end of the gaming discussion for this week. Time to move on to the news. Seth, you've been a bit quiet this episode. You are the king of fighters with what you brought to us at the start of the episode, but I also hear that you have some king of fighters news to discuss with us.
Yeah, so I've been quiet most of this episode, so for the next 10 or so minutes, I am not going to shut the fuck up about fighting games. To kick us off, King of Fighters 15 just revealed that Angel is going to be in the game. I had a friend that thought she wasn't going to be in because the team that she's usually with replaced her. So it's good to see her in. And for anyone that doesn't know about Angel, she is a character that is very heavily inspired by The Rock in her moveset. But there is also a very funny story behind her her creation, if anyone would like to hear that.
Oh yeah, go on.
We have to hear it now.
You've given us the teaser. Just tell us.
Yeah, so there was this development studio called Evoga that was doing a Double Dragon game, and they were really into King of Fighters when SNK was coming to visit them because they're in Mexico and Mexico loves King of Fighters, so that checks out. So they played against a couple of the SNK people there, but they absolutely floored the SNK developers, and they got super salty. They were like, "Oh, these aren't even our best players. We'll make a bet. We'll do a best of 3 later, and we'll come back and make this huge bet with you guys for whoever wins." The terms were, if 1 second, sorry. If Evoga won, they would get a character made in their honor, and they would be waived of all fees that they owe SNK. But if SNK won, they had to be paid the fees. They had to create a character in SNK's honor for Rage of the Dragons, the Double Dragon game they were making, and they owe them an additional $5,000. So the game was on. It was a 3v3. Each person from each side was controlling one character for the King of Fighters layout. The first person from the Evoker team completely floored every single SNK player, and and so that is a story of how Angel Torres beat SNK and got Angel into the King of Fighters.
Nice.
I'm looking at the artwork of her now. Those are. It's an interesting design choice. It's like sort of like arseless chaps, but with just a G-string underneath.
Yeah, it's very wrestling inspired, but also very sexual. And
So
fun
very
fact,
wrestling inspired. Got it.
Yep.
yeah. Also, fun fact: canonically, she has the biggest bust size in the King of Fighters universe. But moving on from that,
You're right. That was fun. Anyway.
yeah, Tekken 7 hit 8 million copies sold recently, like worldwide. And to celebrate, they're releasing 2 new editions of the game digitally that just bundles DLC altogether. The first version of this is just the game and all the characters that are Tekken exclusive characters, while the second bundle has all the DLC that the game ever did, like the extra modes and the stages and everything, but also Noctis and Negan.
That's right. I completely forgot
Ooh,
those
that's
two.
cool.
That was that man. What's strange?
Yeah, they
Man.
were very strange inclusions. This probably signifies that Tekken 7 is done in releasing new content, but having ways to buy the game and just everything outright is good. But the price is pretty astronomical. I haven't looked it up, but I've seen people complain that it's very expensive. Following up on that, Arc System Works released a trailer for the new Dungeon Fighter Duel game that they're doing. They revealed this last year, and it went quiet for a year. They've brought it back with a new trailer, and also brought up Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube pages specifically for the game.
Cool. Looking forward to another Arc System game. They're always very good, although they're always
Yeah.
basically the same.
Yeah, they're
so-
always good.
I looked into Dungeon Fighter a little bit, and there's 16 classes in that game with about 4 to 5 subclasses in each one, which brings them up to like a total of 61 characters that they could build up to. At the moment, they've only shown 5. They've got a Berserker, which is a male. So for these classes, they've got male and female versions of them as well. So for the Berserker is a male exclusive character. The Inquisitor is a female exclusive character. But the next 3, they've got a Grappler, a Striker, and a Ranger. And you could get male or female versions of them, or male or female versions of other types in those same classes, which would be interesting and help diversify the roster.
So is this fighter in the same vein as Dragon Ball Fighters type of thing, or is it more 3D?
It's going to be in like Dragon Ball Fighters, Guilty
Yeah,
Gear
cool.
sort of style.
Cool.
Moving on from that real quick, Street Fighter V did a spring update stream revealing, showing off the last character for the game called Luke. Interesting about him is that he's kind of a preview for what they're going to do for Street Fighter 6, and there's a lot of discussion around what exactly he's introducing that will be like that. My guess is that he's a very offensive style character, and he pushes the game
So he
towards
just tosses
being
slurs out everywhere, or
no, not that type of offensive. He pushes the game to be more towards trying to play aggressively rather than defensively.
right?
So there's a system in the game called V triggers, and some characters have V triggers that put them on a timer, and that just means like it over time it'll decrease the meter, but it also goes down when they use it. His works a bit differently. It does go down when he uses his abilities tied to it, but if he's just standing still, the V trigger gauge starts building up again, and if he lands attacks, it starts building up. The only way to decrease it is to use his attacks exclusive to it, or to take damage. So it kind of engages the enemy to come towards him and attack him to try and take out his extra mechanics. But he releases November 29, and he looks pretty interesting.
How long has Street Fighter
Cool.
5 been going for? That seems like one of those games that just
Yeah,
never
it's
went.
been out for a while now, I think.
Yeah, I think it released 2016 or 2017, and yeah, it's coming to the end of its life now. And this stream was like, yeah, this is the end of the game, but it's more of a see you soon sort of thing because they're already working on the next Street Fighter project. It's been no secret they're working on one.
Street
So,
Fighter 5 goes for 5 years. Checks out.
Yeah, exactly.
In my opinion, bigger fighting news though.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. Bigger fighting game news, because this is all small update sort of stuff.
Yeah.
This is a big reveal. Warner Brothers announced Multiverses, a team-focused Smash clone that is using Warner Brothers properties. And yes, of course, Ultra Instinct's Shaggy is in the roster.
Although I think with that, what do we think? Is he going to be capped at 1% power, or are we maybe see 2% power, or DLC 3% power? But I don't think we're going to see true Shaggy form in this one.
He's not even using his own power. They've already stated that all his power at the moment is coming from a crystal he ate that he thought was a candy.
Oh god.
There is lore reasons why he is the way he is.
It's not even out yet, but everything I've seen about this, I'm so hyped for it.
It looks a lot of fun. Making the game based on 2v2 mechanics really shakes up the formula as well. Like, it's going to be a very fun team game from the looks of it. Because Smash does have team modes in it, but it's very still much of you do your own thing while your partner beats up another enemy. You can 2v1 people and whatever. But this has a lot of mechanics in there about helping your teammate. Like, Steven Universe can throw shields on his partner. You can follow Bugs Bunny in his rabbit holes. Wonder Woman can save her partner using her lasso of truth. So there's a lot of things in there where they're being very mindful about this being a 2v2 game and making things for your partners.
I said this, might have been last episode, might have been the episode previous, but I feel a bit bad for the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl devs because that game seems to be basically dead at this point. But
the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl developers actually commented on this game, saying that things like voice acting and presentation seem to be very much in line of what people want out of fighting games, and it would have been nice if their game got that sort of polish too.
Oh man, that hurts even more. Because I was going to say, like, this everything that I've seen about this, and it also being free to play, if I'm not mistaken.
It is free to play, yeah.
This will absolutely kill what's left of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, and I think it could actually be a contender for an alternate to Smash, especially if they're taking it in a different direction with 2v2. But I'm super excited for this.
Well, are we getting to this sort of point where it's like the multiverse of Smash, where it's just like, oh, this is the Warner Brothers version of Smash as opposed to the Warner Brothers version of Dark Souls?
Well, I mean, Smash could be dead now, so we might need an alternative to Smash. But yeah, there are like Smash style fighting games, and then there's traditional style fighting games.
If you recall, the last time a couple of podcasts ago, we had a discussion about Sakurai saying he doesn't know what to do with Smash now. It's kind of hit a crescendo, and he's unsure of where they can go now. Whatever they do next is going to disappoint fans. So now's a good time for alternatives to come in and try and fill a gap.
I mean, all they need to do is one crossover event with Multiverses X Smash Brothers, where Waluigi becomes a playable character. Perfect game.
But Waluigi was never in Smash Brothers. How could it be a crossover if he was never a core roster fighter? He wasn't a core roster fighter.
He's an assist trophy, that counts.
Yeah, exactly. He's in Smash.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's the most we take those of the wins.
It is. My poor boy.
But on top of that, they didn't really discuss monetization options because the game being free to play, of course, it's going to have monetization somewhere in there. My guess, though, is it's going to be in the costumes because they showed a lot of costumes for the characters.
Can't wait for the season 1 battle pass for Multiverses.
Oh, man, yeah.
As much as I love free-to-play games, and the kid me would have loved it because I wouldn't have to spend money, like, it just sort of like feels like they're just doing the bare minimum, releasing it for free, and like, oh, don't worry, people will pay for it if they want. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes. But so far, what we see on the tin, we're liking. But things we are not liking.
So, Patrick, you've been looking for that L for so long. I finally found it. Riot Games stole it and put it on their new game called Project L.
I hate it.
So something I
it
didn't
back.
get, something I didn't mention about multiverses, but is a key point for both of these games, is that they're both, I believe, both are using rollback netcode, which I mentioned earlier in the episode, but they're also using dedicated servers on top of those to help alleviate some issues. And
I've heard that with multiverses, at least. Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of what I want to talk about this game is more what the developers are doing to push to push fighting games forward, because the two people that are leading this game, the Cannon brothers, they actually do a lot of stuff for the FGC and moving the fighting games forward. They created rollback netcode, if I'm not mistaken, and they also created the Evo events that's in Las Vegas every year. But yeah, what they're doing for Project L is that they're using Riot servers to ensure that on top of netcode is that if you have a good internet connection, the game will always feel smooth for you. Even if the opponent has a bad connection, you won't get any of those stutters or lags that rollback is known for. And if someone rage quits because the server can detect who quit the match, they'll give them the L and give the person that stays the win. So
Finally. That never
those,
seemed like a hard problem to solve, but it plagues climbing ranks and things like Smash Brothers. It's crazy that it's taken this long to like announce that there's a system like that in place.
Yeah, it's not so much that it's a hard problem to solve, it's just that the way fighting game infrastructure was for so long, it made it hard to do, because it was always based on peer-to-peer connections rather than servers, because since fighting games are one-on-one games, they figure putting in a server just makes an unnecessary middleman. But without having that server in place, you can't tell who was the person that quit the match. You just see, oh, the connection was lost. Well, there goes the game.
So, Project L, you excited? You not excited? Some quick thoughts before we move on.
I'm excited. It's a 2v2 game. It's similar to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, which were both very fun games. I always enjoyed tag-based fighting games. They're also doing something where they're simplifying special moves. So their core emphasis on the game is that they don't want to make a game where new players can beat veteran players or people of higher skill levels, which is something that a lot of fighting game developers are trying to do at the moment. But they want to basically raise the floor so that new players can unlock the fun of the game as early as possible and just get into enjoying the game as quickly as possible. They've done stuff like putting special moves on buttons and removing motion inputs that plague a lot of fighting game players that think those are hard to, like, barriers of entry, basically. They're trying to remove as many of those to get as many people into the game as possible.
So do you reckon the game will be a riot?
So, Josh, do you want to tell me about Kirby being nominated for a Grammy?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely can. So Kirby himself hasn't been nominated for a Grammy, sadly, but basically there was a new arrangement of Meta Knight's Revenge from like the 1996 game of Kirby Superstar, I think it was called. Let me just open this up. Charlie Rosen and Jake Silverman have basically redone it, and made it into this awesome track with the bands, and it's actually like arranged really well. So that's been nominated for a Grammy. We'll find out in January if it won, but it's joining the ranks of like I think 3 total now game music either tracks or soundtracks that have been nominated for a Grammy award. So that's pretty cool. But not too much to say other than that.
It's cool to see it becoming more mainstream and more widely accepted as like it is a genuine form of creative expression. It should be awarded as such where applicable.
Yeah,
you don't hear about video game music being recognized like this ever.
Yeah, especially for like Kirby has always had such a consistently amazing soundtrack that I'm glad, even if it's just an arrangement of a 1996 track, for it to be recognized as, you know, good music, because it is.
Could you imagine if Horizon 5 got a Grammy nomination for car noises?
For car noises? I was about to say, it's all licensed music, but for car noises, yeah, no, that'd be cool.
It would.
Just,
I'd love to listen to the preview before they announce the winner. And representing Horizon 5 and just a B12 revving.
It'd be cool to see like some kind of because obviously that there are game awards for OSTs and stuff, but I don't think like there's ones for like sound design, but I don't think there's anything for particular like artifacts of sound. So things like, you know, maybe like a sword hitting or like a gunshots or even like an engine revving. So I think it really exists. So it'd be cool to see a category added for that in something.
Mm.
But yeah, I guess that's all we really need to say about that. So I guess we can dig into some more new games. So Dragon Ball.
Yeah, so the Dragon Ball The Breakers beta that I mentioned last week, they're already taking signups for it. Real quick, let me check when the dates for that were.
While he's checking, are we looking at signing up? I'll
I've
probably
already
give it a
signed
miss.
up.
It's not
I
up my alley, but
I signed up, but I'm not going to cancel any plans for it, like I did for the Halo Infinite beta release they did a while back. I'm sort of keen for it. I get the feeling it's like just a Dead by Daylight skin with a bit of a Dragon Ball type of feel to it.
Yeah, the date is going to be the in the US the Saturday and Sunday after this podcast releases, and it'll be 4 different sessions staggered throughout those times at like 4-hour chunks each.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
think
alright.
I'll probably sign up, but yeah, like Steven said, I probably won't cancel anything for it. I do absolutely love my Dragon Ball games, but this isn't a typical Dragon Ball like fighting or story based game. It's just like a Dead by Daylight clone from what I can tell. So
Yeah, I'm keen on it because like the entire premise of it interests me, and it them looking at episodes of Dragon Ball and going, hey, that makes an interesting idea for a game, even if it is a clone of another game, is it's good to see them do something outside of the norm for the series, I think.
Yeah, good point. I mean, the universe is pretty expansive, and even going back to the old days when it was just Dragon Ball, they could do 1,000 different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on from that, Hideki Kamiya, he's come out to talk about Microsoft and I guess Scalebound's cancellation. Should we touch on that briefly?
Yeah, this is just very quick, but for a long time, people assumed that Microsoft, as a publisher, were making too many demands for Scalebound, and that's what eventually got it cancelled. But Kamiya recently came out and said, no, this was a problem with Platinum Games. They were being overambitious, and there were too many setbacks on their end that caused the game to be cancelled, and they wanted to personally apologize to the fans and to Microsoft about it. That basically coming down to they weren't experienced enough with a multitude of things like the environment design, trying to make photorealistic graphics and using Unreal Engine, or even building online features that were being put into Scalebound. So there were too many negatives, and all just piled on top of each other until it just gave way. Which is a shame. I was really looking forward to this game. I would have bought, when it was announced, I would have bought an Xbox One for this game.
yeah, it's nice to have that finally wrapped up though and have a little bit of closure. But that's all that story really is.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of closure for that game.
X-Bros, we lost.
I guess the next thing on the ticket, Tencent comes up, whips out their foot-long wallet. Want to talk about this?
Oh right, I completely forgot this was on the docket. Tencent has made a sizable investment into Playtonic Games, and it's been such an investment that they can now double in size as a studio, and it's let them make 3 more projects now. One of them being a sequel to the 2017 release of Yooka-Laylee.
The disappointing game that was.
It was not disappointing.
Yeah.
It was very good. It wasn't as good as Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie. It was good for what it was.
No, it wasn't.
I all I remember of that game is that it was announced. People were like, "Oh yeah," and then it came out, and then it went to the void.
Yeah, it went into that Kickstarter void of, oh no, this isn't as good as what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comparisons were that everyone thought they would revolutionize the 3D platforming genre, like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, because it is made from a bunch of old Rare developers. And it sort of did. It does capture a bit of the charm and the humor is fantastic as well, and the writing's really good, but the gameplay is pretty repetitive. It's good
Yeah.
for about, and then you sort of do everything, and then because I really enjoyed it, I 100%ed it, to the point where my partner told me to play it on mute because the music was pretty annoying, and I didn't have headphones at the time.
Good old Grant Kirkhope.
It was good though. Like it was what it was. Did it get repetitive after a while? Of course it did. But I enjoyed it. I'm glad I got it for 50% off, as I always do. Always get games on a sale, never pay full price. Never pre-order.
I kickstarted the game and I still haven't played it.
Oh, okay, that's pretty weird.
I've kickstarted a couple of games. 3 games. I've kickstarted My Number 9, which I played and absolutely loathed.
Oh boy, man, what a waste of money that. Oh boy.
Yeah, that was a
basically what I was
massive
gonna
waste of money. I also did Ukulele, which I haven't touched yet, but I own both games with the express desire to play them back to back on a stream sometime. It's just finding time to actually stream that's bugging me.
And if people wanted to watch you do that, where would they find you?
At twitch.tv/Kaibar.
Man, holy crap, I'm drowning. That was the best plug in the world.
Oh man.
And I also kickstarted Bloodstained Ritual of the Night when that was coming up, but that game's been getting updates for so long, I just decided to wait till they were done, and it doesn't look like they're ever going to be done because they still plan to patch it while they're making the sequel at the moment.
Wow.
But yeah, Ukulele getting a sequel is actually kind of interesting, and especially since they're doubling the size of their studio, more manpower could just hopefully mean a better game.
I'm excited.
Something else that's getting a sequel, well, not really, but kind of. Skyrim's getting a pretty large patch, I hear.
It's pretty decent size from what I've seen, just for bug fixes. But the big one worth mentioning, because we won't spend long on it, because I shilled it last week, is basically just there was a whole bunch of black screening issues and issues with a few, basically, I guess, just consistency within bugs, things that should have been fixed and weren't. So they're now patched that, they've now fixed that. The only thing worth mentioning is that it's probably going to break SKSE, so Skyrim Script Extender, and any other mods that you've now installed that have already been updated for this Anniversary Edition.
Yeah, because that
keep
broke
an eye on
that broke when Anniversary came out, didn't it?
It did, yeah. So now that they're releasing another patch, there's a good to fair chance that those will also break. There is already mods to limit it back to that sort of that version level so that it doesn't update. But yeah, if you just update your mods as well, and yeah, keep an eye on it.
Speaking of things we have to keep an eye on, Rock Band X Fortnite. Anyone else as hyped as I am for this?
Please no.
Is it coming out in a fortnight?
Hopefully.
Everyone's just being bought by the bigger companies at the moment. It's kind of upsetting.
Yeah, it's so. I guess we should give a little bit of context to the story. Fortnite has picked up Harmonix, I believe,
Yeah,
the
Harmonix.
studio
Epic,
behind Rock Band.
Yeah, Epic picked up Harmonix.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Epic. Yeah, sorry, I forget that they do more than Fortnite. Yes, of course, Epic. Epic is the one that picked
So
up
they're
Harmonix.
behind things like Rock Band, Guitar Hero, and the bigger release recently they did is Fuser, which seems to be the reason why they picked it up, so they can have mixing of music in game, from what I understand. But it's, oh man, why? Just stop adding things to this game.
What do you mean? Don't you want to play Fortnite with a Guitar Hero controller?
You can already do
Yeah, finally we get the Rock Band drum support that I've been always wanting in my Fortnite games.
Get the whole band together to control one character.
Hang on, Mum and Dad, I'm just going to play my music video game. That's this Fortnite button.
Use your Rock Band controllers to Megazord a character.
Can't wait till we go down to the final 1v1 after all the other players have been eliminated, and then it just becomes a rhythm game to see who wins.
That would actually be kind of neat. And they just bring back the other 98 people 97 people, and they have to watch as part of the concert.
Yeah, and then they're the fans that start like cheering or booing if you're doing well.
Just imagine a sea of Naruto's as Chris Redfield and Kratos are jamming out.
I like the implication there, in that the person that gets eliminated and comes like 100th in whatever Fortnite game that they're playing has to just sit there and wait for the idea of a rock concert in like 20 minutes.
More
Uh,
importantly, though, will Travis Scott be playing any more concerts in Fortnite?
I don't think Travis Scott's going to be playing anywhere for a while.
hmm.
Maybe a
I
charity
mean,
gig at a
he may
hospital.
need to put a few concerts on to make back some of the money he's probably going to lose in a bunch of lawsuits.
Yeah, horrible situation, but yeah, he's kind of a shit human, so yeah, whatever, man.
I feel bad for all the people that aren't him in that situation.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, moving swiftly along from that one. Seth, you want to discuss the Chrono Cross remaster rumors?
Yeah, so just real quick touch on this, because this is a very rumor filled article as it is. A while ago, like about a month or two ago, folk singer Eva McMahon, who goes by the performance name Ava, told an Irish radio station that they had recorded an Irish language theme for a game that was going to be a PlayStation remake. And at the time, because the words PlayStation remake, everyone thought it was PlayStation doing a remake of a game. But according to someone over at Xbox Era, the co-founder Nick Baker, the remake is actually going to be a Chrono Cross remaster. So not even a remake; it's just going to be a remaster of the game. And but they seem to be making these claims because of the past Nvidia leaks and claiming that they have their own insider knowledge about it. So this could all be real big bullshit and like just throwing saying there's smoke where there's saying there's fire where there's smoke, but it also could be nothing.
I love the idea that you say that there is a PlayStation remake on the horizon and there is a PlayStation remake on the horizon, and you get two wildly different responses.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Chrono Cross was a PlayStation 1 game, so that does count as a PlayStation remake.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, Chrono Cross is one of the highest rated games on Metacritic, and a lot of people are hoping that this game will increase, if it does happen, that it'll increase public view of the game, because Chrono Trigger was that special of a game that people just kind of overlook Cross. But yeah, not much else to say to that. I kind of hope that is a Chrono Cross remaster just for that chance, but I'd also be interested to see what if it is a Sony remake of something else, what that could be.
Did you guys ever play Chrono Cross? Because I sure didn't. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
I haven't played any of the Chrono games.
I haven't played Chrono Cross. I played Chrono Trigger for when I was young, but yeah, not Chrono Cross.
Be interesting to sort of see what they do, if it's a sort of like a 1-to-1 remake, or if it's like a Final Fantasy VII remake thing where it's all 3D and updated.
I think the idea is that it'd be a remaster of the game, so it'd be the original game up-resed sort of thing.
Okay.
Or they remake it to look like the original game.
Was PlayStation Audio in mono?
I believe it was stereo.
It was stereo? Okay. Yeah, so they're just I guess they're just trying to get fresh audio.
Yeah, I mean, it would have had the old RCA cables, the
yeah, true.
video component and left-right audio, so I'm assuming it would have been stereo.
Oh god, man, that takes me back. Oh, bring back left-right component. Far out. I'm still colorblind.
It was a simpler time.
Yeah.
But should we move on to the big news of the week that we're probably going to spend the next half hour on?
Yeah, things that we wish would get a remake. The executive structure of Activision Blizzard.
That was a fucking fantastic segue.
Thank you. Oh, I thought of it like 2 minutes ago. I was jumping up and down waiting to use it. Anyway, let's get into this one.
So to make this interesting, should we all take different headings for this? So since I'm the PlayStation guy, should I comment about Jim Ryan? Since Steve has shares in Microsoft, he should take Phil Spencer and all that, because basically everyone in the every big industry lead has made comments about this in the last week.
I think we'll dig in with our various comments as we go. Let's just get through the story.
Let's go through them.
Okay, so this all started off with Jim Ryan making a email out to basically the entirety of Sony, saying that they kind of they've seen the situation. They've reached out to Activision, and they're really disappointed in Activision's outlook and the way they're handling the situation. And they want to double down on they're committed on ensuring that their own community of developers and gamers feel safe and respected. Jim Ryan should have kept his mouth shut though, because now
Yeah, that
Sony
was
is under those same sort of lawsuits in California.
That was a big activated by trap card moment there, boy.
Yeah.
Whoa.
A former PlayStation. So just to put this as a quick tangent, a former PlayStation IT security analyst filed a lawsuit against Sony Interactive Entertainment California for the same sort of thing of Sony tolerates and cultivates a work environment that discriminates against female employees. They're subjugated to unlawful and disparate treatment in pay and work opportunities, and basically saying that women in Sony Interactive Entertainment don't get the same sort of promotion opportunities that men will have, and they're actively blocked from moving up in the company.
It probably is worth noting here that I'm not defending Sony in any way over these allegations, but it is worth pointing out that there's a distinction between Sony just being kind of like dismissive and shitty versus Activision Blizzard being actively hostile to anything with a skirt.
Yeah, no. These are both serious issues. It really sucks to have to put this in quotations, but I do feel Activision is worse in this situation because there's actual legitimate sexual harassment going on there, and people committing suicide over this sort of situation that's been happening.
Yeah,
while,
not to defend Sony, but also not
to defend Sony at all.
Yeah, but definitely worth pointing out that they are slightly different situations.
They are, but yeah. So Sony's it's also just kind of funny to see that Sony made comments about treating their workers with respect, and then they immediately get hit by a lawsuit themselves.
Oh, you love to hate to see it.
Yeah. Coming out after that was Phil Spencer, who did a similar sort of email, and it was confirmed by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier and by IGN as well. The words that specifically were that they were disturbed and deeply troubled by the horrific events and actions at Activision Blizzard, and this type of behavior has no place in our industry. And they're evaluating all aspects of their relationship with Activision Blizzard and making ongoing proactive adjustments. So same thing that Jim Ryan said regarding Activision. And
so have they been slapped with an internal lawsuit yet, or is that coming next week?
They were flagged with an internal lawsuit a few months ago.
Yeah, it's sort of like a general
close
theme
enough.
Is that their big companies are always sort of getting done in this kind of stuff. But what's going on at Activision Blizzard is literally a deep-seated entrenched issue, and has much more far-reaching complications. And
there's got to be some kind of cognitive dissonance where you look at all of this in the state of the industry and you go, man, it would suck to work at company that's not ours. Make sure that company that is ours is doing much better, only to get hit with, again, slightly different set of circumstances, but like, the same kind of root of just being shitty.
There is no self-awareness, and the matrix we live in is glitching out.
Definitely feels like that sometimes.
So
who else has piled in?
Doug Bowser from Nintendo, surprisingly, because Nintendo usually stays quiet about this sort of thing. But
yeah, interesting. And interesting was Nintendo of America, and also interesting. I'll never get over the fact that the CEO of Nintendo of America's last name is Bowser.
This is coming from Bowser. He regularly kidnaps women like on a weekly or monthly basis, and he's still coming out with the moral high ground here.
Yeah, anyone's better than Activision at this point. Even a maniacal tyrant.
even a fire-breathing turtle.
But yeah, Doug Bowser did another company-wide email that reached out to even their development studios like Retro Studios and Next Level Games, where they go, quoted, "Along with all of you, I've been following the latest developments with Activision Blizzard and the ongoing reports of sexual harassment and toxicity at the company. I find these accounts distressing and disturbing. They run counter to my values as well as Nintendo's beliefs, values, and policies." He later goes on to explain that Nintendo is committed to having an open and inclusive workplace where all people are welcome. He remarks the company holds itself to this high standard and expects the same from the industry and their partners. They've also been in contact with Activision and have taken action and are addressing where they can. So with all these notes of address these three companies addressing issues with Activision, I just remembered and wanted to point out that before these claims were made, over on the PlayStation website, they had big banners for Call of Duty Vanguard coming out and were advertising it all over the website. As soon as Jim Ryan made these comments, everything Call of Duty related got taken down.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, you can it's still on the store and everything, but those sort of advertisements and like featured listings were gone.
Yeah, it's always a strange thing that they come out and say, "Oh no, it's really bad. We're reassessing things," but what are they
And then
actually
they just
going to
continue
do?
taking the cash cow under the table.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
so it's interesting to see that one of these companies like at least put some money where their mouth is of taking it off their featured list.
Even though
And-
it's also the one that gets smacked with an internal lawsuit about
Yeah.
similar shit immediately. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Matrix tech support team must be doing overtime to try and correct all these glitches.
So moving on from the three big companies, we get to Activision's response, which was in direct response to Phil Spencer's comments earlier, where they go, we respect all the feedback from our valued partners and are engaging with them further. We have detailed important changes and we have implemented in recent weeks, and we will continue to do so. We are committed to the work ensuring our culture and workplace are safe, diverse, and inclusive. We know it will take time, but we will not stop until we have the best workplace for our team. These responses included a statement from Activision Blizzard, calling the Wall Street Journal reports a misleading view of the company and their CEO, while a separate statement from Activision's board of directors rallied around Kotick, saying it's that they remain confident in the CEO's leadership, commitment, and ability.
I mean, which part of the seemingly proven at this point sexual harassment allegations was misleading? I feel like it's going to be one of those, like, yeah, what I did was bad, but it wasn't that bad. Like, yeah, but
It's just a race to the bottom.
The
at this
part
point.
where Activision,
yeah.
it's the misleading part is the part where Activision has to pretend it's their problem.
Yeah. And
Oh,
there was
God,
actually
that's-
another partnership we didn't actually mention, which I think is also sort of writing on the wall. There's I think they're a free company. They're just like a charity mission basically called Girls Who Code, and they had active things with Activision. I believe that they were placing interns and stuff within their company. And they've now ended that arrangement and said, we don't want our people working for you if you're going to continue doing this, right? So they're losing employees as well. Not only that are working there, but potential employees. So they need to make a
That's
change
really
pretty
good news to
quickly.
hear, though, that they're pulling out of that arrangement.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's expected, but it's definitely something that just screams writing on the wall, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm always left with a bad taste whenever I see an email going, we are committed to XYZ. And,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I get it that it's supposed to be like a snippy bite of like, yeah, our position, like, yeah, we as a company, our position on workplace sexual harassment is that workplace sexual harassment is bad. Like, fine, but you've now been like accused of doing it multiple times across. No, it's not even like a recent thing where like, yeah, these changes will take time. It's like, bro, these changes should have been like the time taken to put these changes in means that there should have been like something should have happened by now. Not that it's the same story. It's so frustrating to read this over and over again. And of course, like let's say the scenario where they don't do much and they get like a bit of a PR tank, but you know, business as normal continues. I'd almost put money that in the next 5 years we see something similar. Different people, different executive, but like culture. Someone, I don't remember whose quote it was, but culture starts at the executive level and trickles down. And I don't see culture improving despite all the funny sound bites and clips that they want for the media until we actually see meaningful change in the executive structure.
So I put this down in our docket, but I called Riot the other corporate shit stain, and we already know how this plays out because of Riot. We've got all these games news outlets decrying Blizzard, but at the same time, when Riot just did their all their recent announcements, they're making articles saying Riot is flourishing while Blizzard is having their worst year of their time in the industry. But Riot's being done for these exact same sort of allegations. They're just as bad as Blizzard is and Activision are, but because their lawsuit is underway at the moment and no one's talking about it anymore. Everyone's just kind of gone about it and
They're
like
just getting a free
celebrating
pass in
Riot.
the public arena.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they're in the same position as Blizzard, but all these outlets are making them seem like the good guys compared to Blizzard. It's another very frustrating thing.
Do you think
Yeah.
people have forgotten? Is that the problem? That it's just more of a cultural issue of just like, okay, what the right thing was like, what, 2-3 years ago? Okay, that's over. Oh, now Blizzard's bad. Okay, they're the bad guys, and then
Yeah, well, it's like a double-edged thing, right? Like it's hard to remain focused on one thing when there are so many things to be outraged at.
Yeah.
good point. Yeah,
Not only that as well, but a lot of attention has been on Blizzard for just doing bad things in general. Like WoW is dying. The remaster for Diablo 2 wasn't what people really wanted from what I heard. Reforged was garbage. There was just everything about them was being slammed. So it just became like a hype train to slam on Blizzard, and then all this stuff came out, and now it's just
Yeah.
continuing to dump on Blizzard. Whereas, and I hate that I'm going to say this, but Riot has been releasing games, and that's what the game companies care about. So they're like, cool, look at these new games, look at these shiny toys, because they're releasing news not necessarily contrary to the fact that, you know, these allegations are happening, but they're saying, look at this game that's been released because it's their job. So it's
What's bothering me though is those type of articles that I mentioned where they're going, "Hey, look at Riot. They're doing fantastic at the moment," and in the same headline for the same article it says, "While Blizzard is while Blizzard is going through their worst time ever at the moment."
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's-
if it was just reporting on what Riot is doing at the moment, I wouldn't have a problem. But it's painting Riot as good guys in an article about Blizzard being this corporate,
Being the big bad.
yeah, this corporate nightmare at the moment. It's mind-boggling what they're doing. But so there's one more point on this article I want to go through, and I call this the cherry on top. And I'm probably just going to read these points word for word. So Bobby Kotick was defended by Activision Blizzard's leadership during a company meeting where employees were told its new zero tolerance policy would not apply to claims made this week against its CEO. But staff has heard little new. The game developer reported, citing sources on the call who said that pre-screened questions were given answers repeating the company's pre-stated defenses that were apparently nothing to suggest Activision Blizzard's executives would not continue to stand by Kotick in the short term. When they were asked whether Activision Blizzard's new zero-tolerance policy harassment was something that Kotick would be held up to, staff were told no, and Activision Blizzard's execs said they did not have evidence of Kotick's own alleged harassment of employees, such as the time that he is claimed to have threatened to kill a staff member, and that these occurred over a decade ago. Employees were also told that the company's upcoming Thanksgiving break had been extended, something staff suspected was an attempt to dampen further criticism of the company.
Sure. Like I'm a big believer in, you know, like due process, like, you know, if by some miracle all of this comes out that it actually was fabrication and Kotick's just a really misunderstood guy, fine. But the statistical chance of that is so low that you have stories of this kind of nature that have been reported seemingly fairly consistently for the past decade, that sure, they don't have evidence, sure, they don't have like a need to compel him to abide by the same processes as lower level employees, but god damn, like what could he get away with before the board would actually decide maybe we should pull him out?
The board is full of Kotick's friends and people that he's helped put into their positions of power with the company. So they're all going to stand together in this big boys club sort of situation.
Mhm.
So if anything's going to happen, the entire board is going to have to be taken down before anything happens to Kotick.
And the only way to do that is through the shareholders. So, you know, you have to see what happens there. You know, I don't think there are enough shareholders to outweigh the members of the board and, you know, Kotick them himself and everything that own shares in these companies. And a lot of the shareholders only care if they're making money, and they are. So, you know.
I probably like it probably got glossed over because of me just going over those points point for point. But the thing that's so mind-boggling about this is that that says Activision Blizzard's new zero tolerance policy harassment does not apply to Kotick at all. They're just letting him have free reign over everything.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to me is that your job as a leader, especially in a position as like a CEO and stuff like that, is to be a representative, like you were saying, as with the executives. Yeah, the culture will flow down. Your job, if you're under these allegations and everything, your job is to lead. Your job is to step aside until it's clear that you were not in fault. Even to the point where a politician that I personally despise, Gladys Berejiklian in New South Wales, she stood down when she had corruption allegations against her, which was the right move to do. If something happens where it clears up, of course you can take that position back, but you're under the point where your job is a leader. You're supposed to be a role model. What kind of role are you setting for everyone else in your company? If you can be accused of things and get away with it, everyone underneath them is going to assume the same thing.
To just throw a dagger into Gladys, though, she did that a year after the allegations started, so she tried to ride it out
True.
for a year.
She did,
and
but
then
she
she steps
eventually
down.
did it. I don't think Bobby ever will, but
Yeah.
that's yet to be seen.
I just had to make that addendum there.
Yeah, this is true. Unless we have any other notes on Activision.
God, I can't wait to see this company burn.
Do you reckon it will? Like, Call of Duty's coming out soon. Is this
Call of
just sort
Duty
of like,
is out, and it's the worst rated one.
is it
People
already
aren't
out?
buying it. Yeah.
Man, why aren't we playing that?
They did a free weekend because Halo was eating their lunch.
And Battlefield released at the same time, although Battlefield's also a gigantic mess.
Yeah.
So
Battlefield tanked, COD tanked, and they all get to join in the 3 circles of hell with the Rockstar definitive edition of GTA. So
Man, Halo bros, rise up. We've won. We've done.
AAA gaming right now.
The way to go is free to play with a really shitty battle pass.
Yeah.
Or
sadly,
just
that is accurate.
remake a 15-year-old game.
No, though, Rockstar did that. That's why they're in this mess.
But Pokemon
referring to
did
Pokemon,
as well, and
yeah.
they're good. Poke Bros, we made it.
Yeah, but Pokemon didn't call that the definitive edition because if it did, it'd be platinum.
All right.
Boom.
Dabs.
Which actually ties us nicely towards the epilogue because for the first time, we might have actually had this for a while, but just no one's told me. Do you agree with my statement? Do you not agree? We now have a mailbag. You can actually tell us when we're wrong rather than, just leaving hateful comments like other people have been doing. Anyway, you can find us at fasttravellounge@gmail.com. Feel free to write in. What are your thoughts on these stories? Even just ask us some questions. We'll pick out some of the stuff we like and filter out as much of the hate as we can for next week's show. That does bring us to the end of the news section and the end of episode 4. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.